Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
It is Thursday. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We have an empty seat today. Who might be coming in later in the program?
Who's coming in? Miles is kicking in right now with a fire hat.
It's Matt Kaulig,
Oh.
the most interesting man in Cleveland. Yeah. New owner, part owner, minority owner of the Cleveland Guardians. He also has a couple of NASCAR teams. Played quarterback at the University of Akron a couple of years ago. I'll be kind to Matt, just a few years ago. Okay. He's going to join us. We're going to talk Guardians. In fact, the second hour of today's program, because they launched their playoff journey for 2022 tomorrow, we're going to really dive deep into the Guardians. Travis Hafner is going to join us also in the second hour. He's going to tell us about his playoff experiences once upon a time when he was a Cleveland Indian, and also give us his thoughts on this Guardians team. Excellent. One of the things that I really want to talk to him about is chemistry. You know, that's the one thing in sports you can't buy. If you're the Dodgers, you can write all these huge checks, and the Mets and the Yankees and all these coastal teams. But the Guardians have to find chemistry, and chemistry only happens organically in the sports world. And we're going to talk to him about some of his teams that had chemistry, what it is that makes chemistry so special and so important this time of year. So that's coming up in the second half hour. Also on today's show, Adidi is going to join us. We have an incredible fact from the NFL that will make your head spin. Okay. It will make your head spin, and for some it'll make you vomit. But it's a 100% true fact. It does actually pertain to our Cleveland Browns a little bit. That's coming up later in the program. But first, we have a very special guest in studio. You always hear us talk about our executive producer, Steve, who is from Atlanta and comes in occasionally, about once a month, right, Steve? To sort of overlook us. So it's like the principal's in the room. You remember when you'd be in class and the principal would be sitting in and everybody would be on their best behavior? That's us today because Steve is in the building and he's watching the show.
I will not get up
cracking
and pee.
that whip.
I will not get up and pee in the middle of the show today.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Bull will not throw up in the middle of the show today.
Mikey McNugget, first of all, quick reminder, don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Just subscribe to our page. Also, click the notification buttons because that means that whenever the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show decides that something is big enough in the sports universe that you need to know about it instantly, you'll get those notifications. This could happen at 3:30 in the afternoon. It could happen at 8 o'clock in the evening. If there's a blockbuster trade, if there's some news that is so big that you have to hear our opinions on it immediately, we're going to go live. The only way you'll know about it is if you subscribe and you click on that notifications tab. That way you'll get the notification button. Also, after Sunday's game, in fact, at the 2-minute warning of Sunday's game between the Chargers and the Browns, it is our weekly post-game 2-minute warning show. Now, here's the deal on this. So far, the show is 4 for 4. The game has been decided in the last 2 minutes of all of the Browns' first 4 games.
Yep.
I hope that trend continues. That means it's at least close. I'm afraid it might not. I'm afraid this one might be over before the 2-minute warning.
And I do the post-game show. I'm not too optimistic about this thing right here.
But
Miles Garrett, get better.
Whenever we're all certain that it is going to go one way, it goes the other way. Yeah. So you have to watch and win. That's the 2-minute warning show every Sunday during the 2-minute warning of the Browns game. McNuggets, any business that you need to take care of? Anything that I missed?
Oh, we just want to mention also doing a Guardians post-game show. So after
tomorrow.
Friday's game, Saturday's game, and then potentially Sunday's game, depending on situational circumstances.
Right.
We'll do a Guardians post-game show. That'll be G. Bush and Earl.
But special guest. Tomorrow's 12:07 start.
Yes.
We're going to be on the air until 1 o'clock. I'm going to try to sneak over there for a couple of innings before I have to be back here for the 4 o'clock show. But Chris Rose, did I hear you right? Chris Rose of the MLB Network, formerly of the MLB Network, currently does some work for the NFL Network. Mm-hmm. He's going to join G. Bush and Earl on the Guardians postgame show. I don't know that you can have a better postgame show than what we're throwing your way right there.
I mean, thanks to Chris Rose,
Well, G. Bush and Earl are no slouches. I mean, come on. But Chris does know a thing or two about baseball.
Yeah, slightly, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have a ball. That's going to be a blast. Hopefully we're celebrating that win.
I hope so. All of the pressure is on the Rays coming into the series, clearly. Yep. Guardians have a better team. They have a better record. They just won 2 of 3 from the the last series. They were 4-2 against the Rays in the regular season series. But everybody knows in baseball, momentum is that day's starting pitching.
Yep.
And that can flip in the span of 3 hours. If the Rays come in here and take game 1, all of the pressure is on the Guardians. Then it's a must-win Saturday and a must-win Sunday. Gosh, game 1 is always big in any series, but to me, in a 3-game series, you can't get any bigger.
Especially when you have a young guy like McKenzie going in game 2.
Yes.
And the pressure that puts on him.
Right.
And it is a must-win.
Have the Rays announced their rotation yet? Do we know when we'll see Corey Kluber?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. We'll look into that. I haven't seen it.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be a great series. It really is. Those teams played 3 games a little more than a week ago, and they were all 1-run games. 2 of them were extra inning games. And Kevin Cash manages exactly how Tito does. He's a Tito disciple. And it's going to be like watching 2 of baseball's best managers play chess with 2 of baseball's most inexpensive teams. And I think it's safe to say teams that overshoot what they're expected to do every year.
And both with terrific, versatile bullpens.
Very good bullpens. In fact, Kevin could go bullpen games if he wanted to.
Yeah, so
and I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
We could see relievers 3rd, 4th inning. One time through the order, and then it turns over to relievers.
That's why I love October baseball. There's so much more of a heightened sense of urgency. If there's a rally in the 3rd inning, you got to go to the extinguisher. You can't let that
especially
smolder.
in a 3-game series.
Especially in a short series.
Let's talk about that. So we walk to the playoffs, you can forget what happened in the regular season. That's done.
Oh, it's gone. It's done.
Right? This is a whole other game.
The only thing that mattered from the regular season is that the Guardians have the luxury of having all 3 at home. But other than that, flush it down the toilet, it means 0.
What could have your point to the matter is just this. If you get off to a wrong start, it puts you behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely.
And then you're on a scramble. I'll point you back to the '89 Cavaliers. Had beat the Bulls 6 times during the regular season.
And it meant nothing.
We were supposed to be blown out of this playoff series. We came in here and snuck that first game, and they were on their heels ever since then.
It was a wrap.
And then we were at a tactical advantage because we had nothing to lose for. I mean, nothing to lose. And they had everything to fight for.
Yeah.
And
You're playing with house money.
Yeah, playing with house money at that point.
McNuggets? You just telling us to go? You want us to jump into Fence Riders?
I want to say we're going to talk an hour of Guardians, so we're going to get to this, but we got to talk a little Donovan Mitchell in his debut last night.
I think you're right. We do. We don't want to overstate it. It's the preseason, but Jason and Brad, you guys are here. That's the perfect time to get your thoughts on what we saw. They lost a close game. I think it was 113-112. In the first half, it's tended to be the way these teams will look, although the urgency clearly wasn't there. But I didn't see anything that made me scratch my head and say, uh-oh. What's your guys' early reaction from what we saw last night?
I'll let you go, and then I'll be on coattails here.
Well, I think you saw early on why the Cavs felt comfortable that Darius and Donovan can play together.
Right.
And can work well off each other. I said I think Darius proved he should have the ball in his hands all the time. The Cavs said, no, we have metrics, and we believe Darius can thrive without the ball in his hands in the right situation. Obviously, it didn't work with Darius and Colin for a variety of reasons. Donovan is a different player than what Colin was. And, yeah, it's one preseason game, but I think last night was symptomatic of – not symptomatic, but of proof of why they made the deal. So, yeah, I mean, all good things. No reason to believe this won't work. And I am curious now to see Darius more in an off-ball role and see how he thrives in a shooting role, really, without the ball in his hands.
And I'll say this. So to me, it was built. It was advertised as built. When I saw the 2 in the backcourt, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I think that there's a clear distinction between the 2. Donovan Mitchell was a go-to guy down the stretch. You can put the ball in his hand, and I'll tell you how I know this. At the beginning of the game, you know what they had on Donovan Mitchell? P.J. Tucker.
Yeah, P.J.
Yeah.
Tucker.
So you know what that tells you? That Donovan Mitchell is a problem.
Yep.
He's a problem, right? And they recognize it from the beginning. He is a problem, right? But the way I wanted to see last night was the synchronization between the 2. And I will just tell you, what it reminded me of is my old teammates in Detroit, Isaiah Thomas and Dumars, right? Because you learn to share the ball together. but I can go to you and you can get something done. I have trust in you that you can get it done.
It's an awfully high bar.
Yeah, but I see the makings of it, right? Because, people around here say, well, you got two little guys in the backcourt. I said, no.
Donovan Mitchell.
No. Because I don't know if you saw this one play where he crossed over whoever was defending him at the top. Donovan Mitchell did with the basketball, shook him off, took a bump down the lane, got to the rack and laid it in. You have to have power and strength to do that, right? And so that's the one thing. Darius does not have that. That's not in his wheelhouse. But now you do. You have a guy that you go to down the stretch. And when you get to the playoffs, Jason, you know this, you have to be able to put the ball in the hand of a person that can
that
make
was
a
the
play.
element that was missing late last season in both the regular season and in the one play. I mean, they just didn't have that guy that you could say, okay, take over.
And Donovan has a history of dragging his team across the line
he's done that
in
time or
playoff
two.
games. He's done it before.
Did y'all notice the level of spacing?
Yes.
I just noticed that the court seems a lot bigger. Like when Darius Garland had the ball, it seemed like they would just constrict. They would pick and roll. They could do anything they want. They would trap him sometimes. They would show. It just didn't seem like we had that level of space. And then a couple of times I saw him skip past the ball, and he's open in the corner. You look at, I'm like, oh, okay, Donovan Mitchell open in the corner now. Also, I'm surprised. I shouldn't say I was surprised, but his playmaking ability. I think he got Jaron Allen a couple easy dunks. He missed some easy layups like yesterday, but I think those guys are going to be the benefactor of the fact that Darius Garland, he loves to get in the key, high handoffs, but when you look at it, the way the defense collapses on Donovan Mitchell, they're going to have a lot of layups, a lot of open shots.
If you can have a guy, and this was, I'm curious to hear what you think, the LeBron-Kyrie team, championship teams, Deion Waiters is a good example. They just wanted Deion to stand in the corner and just wait for the ball to come to you. It didn't work for him. That wasn't really his game. JR really thrived in that role. Yeah. Dean Wade might be that guy. If you could just go stand there and wait. Just wait. And you're going to get the ball and you're going to get a wide open shot because Donovan is going to collapse the defense on him. And here it comes. All you have to do, Channing was a perfect example.
Right.
Channing Frye. Just stand in the corner, set your feet, and make
Brad,
threes
do you
all day
think that
long.
Dean can be that guy?
Well, I think Dean's an integral part of what the Cavaliers are going for. I don't know if he's that guy, right? Because you playing the three. The three is a very productive position in this league,
Yes,
right? This
it
is not a serviceable.
And it's hard to say we're just going to put you over
here. It's not a
here.
serviceable
Who
guy.
do you think is the starting three on this team on opening night? Because I don't think it's Karis LeVert.
I don't think it's Karis either. I think Karis is a guy that we're going to bring off the bench. If you want my honest opinion, I think that they're searching for a guy, right? And I think the guy is not in the building right now.
Do you think that there's still a move left to be made?
When you're making moves with Donovan Mitchell, that means you're making a move to get better. And if you're honest about yourself, you look at your roster, you go through the training camp, you say like, okay, let me look at these guys, but let me tell you this. The three position, the small forward in the NBA is not a serviceable guy.
Do you think they can make him into Isaac Okoro into a athletic PJ Tucker? But PJ Tucker can hit hits the corner three. He hits the corner three. He can hit that on a more consistent basis. But you look at the athleticism in Okoro. Can he play that
I think
role?
the only thing missing out of Isaac Okoro's game is his ability to shoot the basketball on a consistent basis. But his energy, his defensive prowess, the things that he brings to the table are going to be key. He's going to play a lot here, right? You're going to play a lot here. I still think that as you're putting this team together, you're looking to get better, right? And you'll notice after a few preseason games what you have and a few preseason practice. And if you got to go out and get somebody, well, you'd already invested in Donovan Mitchell.
But
you got to go find
talk
somebody.
about how difficult that might be, though,
Well,
at this point. I mean,
there's
they're not
not a lot
falling
of
out of the
assets.
sky.
There's not a lot of assets left.
Here, when we're looking, we're not looking for NBA All-Stars. That we're not. We're looking for a guy that can do some things. So a guy that can shoot the basketball, a guy that understands his role, a guy that don't want to be bigger than he is.
Do you have any ideas in mind?
Well, here, the first ideal is this: do you want to pay? Because these guys not coming cheap, and you try to find somebody on a veteran minimum if you want to. But you got.
It might be a little more easy to attract a player with this roster. I mean, you may find a guy that says, "I can be the missing link on this team," and I'll go do it.
I said.
We saw guys do that when LeBron was here.
I said this from the beginning, right? You have the guys I saw. I don't tell me about Ariza. I don't want to hear nothing about that, right? It's guys like that. I said you had Melo out there. You had from Phoenix, they just got this
Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder out here.
Right.
It's just a handful of guys, right? Because I'm looking for a plug and play guy. I don't need to have a guy that I have to be able to teach this, right? I need you to come in here, fill a role. And the other thing is, I need to keep you honest. And not against Dean Wade, right? I like Dean's effort, but he's not a guy that's going to keep me honest off Donovan Mitchell, right?
Can you? Let me ask you this. I mean, maybe I'm sipping my little coffee here, and I might be in left field.
Right.
Can Mobley play this 3?
I've said for a year, if Evan can play the 3, you go from being an all-star to a transcendent Kevin Durant class. I really believe that.
Yeah, but
But the pushback has always been no. He's not.
I mean, do you really want to do that?
So here's the deal with the 3, right? And Evan is evolving. Yeah. So his game is nowhere near where it's going to be at the end. Until he learns to put the ball on the floor at the 3, right? We can't have you at the 3.
No,
we cannot. We just cannot. Right.
And they don't want him guarding the 3 for long stretches.
The 3 is you talking to a 3. So let me tell you my matchups on the 3 position when I was playing. This is my nightly matchup. Julius Erving, Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins, Bernard King, Kiki Vandeweghe, James Worthy.
You got buckets.
Mark Aguirre.
Yeah, that's tough.
I got to go back and get that film. You might be getting some buckets on you.
Yeah, and it's the same caliber of player in today's game that he would be matched up with on a nightly basis.
And then on the other side of the ball, when Doug Hobbs was the coach, he was like, when I got to Chicago, he was like, oh, no. You bringing the ball up. You got it. That means you initiating the offense. That means when we take it out of bounds, they're not going to Paxson on the point. You bringing it up on the dribble drive. Right. And so I got all 94 feet. Somebody hawking you. Yeah. You better be able to put that ball on the floor. Yeah. Right. So that person has to be like that. Now, I will say this. It's a little bit less more in Cleveland because you got Darius and Donovan Mitchell. But that 3, he better be able to stroke that thing. He better be able to score.
Yeah, there's a lot that guy needs to be able to do.
I don't think they're going outside. I think what you see is what you have with this team. I think they want to see what they have.
Is that your gut, or are you getting some intel?
Both.
That says, okay,
both. I think they're going to stay with what they have.
Right.
I think it's Okoro probably is the 3 for right now. He's the guy that could be that ideal, stand in the corner and wait for it, but he can't shoot. And I don't think it's coming. This is who he is.
If that's the case, and it likely is, if that's the case, we know this whole this is an experiment, and it's a project in the making. And I think that we all kind of tempered enthusiasm for this first year. Yeah. Let's see what we have. Let's see how the pieces fit together. Perhaps that player will emerge from this roster. Just likely won't be this year.
Yeah. You need a guy who can defend the spot. That's all you need.
That's the biggest part of this.
So it really to me it comes down to Okoro or Dean Wade. JB loves to go big, so maybe Dean goes back to that 3 bigs lineup.
Right.
It's one of those 2 guys. I'm leaning Okoro, to me it's one of those 2.
What you can, I know we got to move on, but what you cannot have is somebody play off the 3 that becomes a rover that says, oh, I don't have to guard as much. I'm going to flood Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to flood Darius Garland. I'm going to shade off of them. You cannot have that because that becomes a problem for Mitchell or Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland. So
I think the early returns are, at least from my standpoint, I was very excited about what we saw last night, and there is incredible optimism for what this team can become.
Huge upside coming this way. Huge.
All right.
We got to get to fence questions.
Fence questions.
Get them in. We're not going to.
How many do we have? 6?
We have 6.
All right.
We could go through a couple pretty quickly.
Okay.
To recap the game, it's a yes or no question.
No unanimous.
No, we do have 2 unanimous.
Oh, we do have 2.
Except one of them you guys are all wrong on. You guys are all wrong.
It won't be the first time, McNuggets.
No. So let's get into it. First question. Will Nick Chubb score more touchdowns than Austin Eckler? We don't have Maurice to be the deciding factor, so let's just see the answer.
Well, we should say Maurice is actually becoming a father again today. His wife is delivering from C-section, so our thoughts are with Maurice. Congratulations, good luck, and he is certainly suited for that job well as he sits today. Okay, so what do we have?
Let's see the answer, Steve. A 3-2 split. We have Bolin here, by the way. He's not here to argue with Brad and Jason, but they do think Nick Chubb scores more touchdowns. G and J a little more pessimistic.
You want to go?
Yeah, I just think he's going to be more involved in the pass game. Eckler will. No knock against Nick Chubb, but when you look at it, Eckler has an opportunity to score in the goal line. He has an opportunity to score in the pass game, and I think Nick Chubb gets into the end zone. But I'm just a little pessimistic. If you know, there's a touchdown limit on Nick Chubb according to Stefanski. If he gets 1 touchdown, you know, we can't just give him the ball again because that would be way too many touchdowns.
We're trying to spread that out.
with our tight ends. We got a couple of reverses.
I'm with you. I do it on touches, and I think Eckler is used properly within their offense. I think he's used more so than the Browns use Nick Chubb. It doesn't mean I think that Chubb is better than Eckler. I just think that he's used in the way he should be used, and our guy is not. And based on what I saw inside the 10 last week, we'll probably throw it every time. We threw it 7 out of 10 plays inside the 10 last week. So if that nonsense continues, I don't see how Chubb can score more than Eckler.
I'm gonna be awful surprised they don't run Nick Chubb 25 times.
He's not gonna get 25.
Well, then
he never gets 25.
Then
I think he's on a hard 20
That's
pitch,
crazy.
20 carry count. That's
so
it.
if they don't run him 25 times, Jason, we're gonna have a dissection here on Monday.
How many times in his career has he gotten the ball 25
I don't know. Maybe once or
Sometimes
twice.
in this business, sometimes in this business, you just have to learn that it's okay to go with what appears to be the answer.
You said this? You said this yesterday, right? You said that you think he is on a pitch count.
I do.
Now I confirm that. I was on the internet pirating videos for one of my videos.
Pirating videos.
And so
My man G.
allegedly, I was
Real quick, how many times do you think he has over 25 carries in his career?
Once, maybe twice.
twice.
I'd say 3.
2.
2 is the correct answer. 28 is the most carries he's ever gotten in a game.
And who was the coach, McNuggets?
That was in 2018.
Now,
Okay, so it wasn't Stefanski that did it.
So
And so I was on. It was NFL Top 100. And Stefanski, they're talking about how cold Nick Chubb is. He's a beast. You know how they do the top 100, go around the league. And they cut into he was mic'd up. And Stefanski goes, hey, guys, how many touches has Chubb gotten so far? And, I'm like, you're right. This dude really be monitoring these touches. He does not. I think he's definitely on a pitch count.
man, we was in Jerry's World in Dallas. They'd run him like they ran Ezekiel Elliott the first year.
Well, that might be. You know what though? I mean, that might be why Zeke seems to be out of gas.
Well, but the problem is
I don't know.
You have a quality reserve here. Here, this is unique, Jay. We have a hampered team for 11 games.
Yeah.
Right? For 11 games.
Right.
So we cannot be doing the same thing we did last year, right? We have to survive just the 11. That's the key.
Yeah. When you look, he's got 81 carries this season, 4 games. That's 20.25 carries per game. If you go back to last year, and I'm just looking at his carries, 9, 12, 17, 23, 17, 8, 22, 14, 16, 21, 21, 22, 11, 15. I think
Not good enough.
The evidence is pretty clear.
You want to hear a crazy stat?
He's
real
on a
quick?
pitch count. Yeah.
In his 3 most carry games, he has not broken 100 yards.
That's interesting. That's interesting to me.
And for the record, he's 3rd in the league in carries.
Yeah, I mentioned that
So
yesterday or
it's
Monday.
not like he's
And he's only 3 behind leading.
He's only 3. Yeah, Saquon's got 84.
84, and he's got
Mixon's
81.
got 82. Him and Jonathan Taylor each have 81. Derrick Henry has 76.
And
Yeah.
but I will.
So it's not like he's
well,
not
no,
getting
but
the
I'm
ball.
saying this: we're in a different situation than other teams.
I agree with you.
We are
Like,
totally different situation.
normally
we don't have any hitters except for Chubb.
Yeah, they've got those teams. Well, the Giants really don't have a lot of.
I was just gonna say, look at the Giants
So it's
quarterback.
Saquon or bust for the
Saquon
Giants
was playing
too.
quarterback last week.
I know he was.
Their guys got hurt, so
Yeah.
his carries are out of whack.
I know
But we
he
got
was.
into the next question, so we get them all in.
Okay.
Here. Next question, Steve. Will the Browns defense hold the Chargers to less than 330 passing yards? This was not unanimous. It was a 3-2 split. Let's see it, Steve. Okay, wait. We're gonna get to it. It's coming. It's coming. There we go.
Wait for it.
Brad and G teaming up here. Jay and Jason say no.
I just go back to last year. It was a fantastically entertaining game.
47-42.
Baker actually played really well for 3.5 quarters. Where have you heard that before?
Well, you haven't heard that this year.
No, you haven't heard that
I'll
this year.
take that 3.5.
And,
They would take that in Carolina right now.
and Herbert, I just don't see them slowing Justin Herbert.
I don't either.
I'm not gonna say they're slowing him down. I think he get like 317. I think he gets 317, 320, maybe 3 touchdowns. But here's the thing. I mean, 300 is 300s. Like you said, he throw for 307 average. That's still a lot of yards.
300 is the benchmark for a good game.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side. I'm on the side of you, and I'm like this. At some point, I got to think the defense got to be thinking like,
Yeah,
I'm tired of you.
I've been
kicking
thinking
sand
that
in my
every
face.
week.
It's sand in my face. So somewhere has to be.
Until they stand up and prove that, I'm going to keep betting against them.
Were you in when Tyvis sat in that chair and said 1,000% guarantee this is fixed?
No, I wasn't.
That was
there.
before Game 3.
I would have stopped that.
They are who they are at this point. I tell people, it's 5 weeks. This ain't no small
I don't
sample.
agree with that. They are who they are. Look at last year. It was all the way to the Patriots game when they got destroyed. And then the second half of the season, the defense played great.
Well, I'm talking about Joe Woods.
I'd make the same argument.
He has.
They were terrible last year.
You
they were
can't
inconsistent
have that
up
every
and down.
year, though. You
That's
can't
right.
be
I agree.
awful for the first half.
I totally agree. But I'm just saying I'm not ready to say they are who they are. It's been 4 out of 17.
For me, they are who they are. That means you're inconsistent. You do it one half. Inconsistent teams don't win in the playoffs.
No.
That's what we supposed
In any
to be at,
sport.
Well,
right?
what's scary to me is when Tyvis broke that play down yesterday, how many defensive snaps will they see on Sunday? 70?
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
It just takes one.
Yeah.
It just takes one. And we've seen that this defense has had multiple great breakdowns in 2 of the 4 games, and they had the colossal breakdown on Sunday. And I asked Tyvis point blank, is this scheme or execution? He said it's execution. And that, to me, unless they start changing out the guys that are playing, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
These are the same guys that have been trotting out there every week, making these one mental blunder. If you make one in 70 plays, it's like the pitcher that throws a tube shot and gives up a solo home run and loses 1-0.
Right.
It just takes the one.
Last week you had guys out of position, aren't
All
used to
day
playing.
long.
I wonder if Jacob Phillips will be better this time around. Now he's got 1 game under his belt. I don't know. But Anthony Walker, Myles Garrett, and Jadeveon Clowney are 3 massive losses off that defense.
They are, but they're not, we don't know. I guess Clowney doesn't look very good for him. Sounds like a high ankle sprain for him. And yesterday, at least Myles Garrett was out on the practice field. They've got to get him back.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Question number 3. Let's take it, Steve. Will Amari Cooper and David Njoku get more targets than Mike Williams and Gerald Everett? This was a unanimous answer, so let's just see.
I don't remember what I answered.
Everyone said no.
Yeah. I mean,
Which means you think the Chargers going to throw the ball around left and right here.
well, that's what they do.
Herbert's going to sling it.
And our strength is clearly running the football. So
We don't have to, hey, we can move on because that's not the one you guys are all wrong about. This next one is where you guys are all wrong.
okay.
According to who?
According to
me.
McNuggets.
Will the Browns rush for 160 yards as a team? Let's see the answer. I'm going to tell you why you're all wrong. Because if the Chargers start slinging the rock around and it forces the Browns to play catch-up, I understand that this team's built on the run. I don't think Stefanski's confident enough to stick to what works, as we've seen what he's done in the red zone, that they're going to throw the ball a lot. And when they're throwing the ball a lot, you don't run the ball a lot, meaning you're not going to rush for 160.
I just looked at the Chargers' run
Chargers have
defense
been
is
gashed.
trash.
Yeah, they've been
Trash.
gashed a lot.
So unless it's a 3-score game,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's a 2-score game in the fourth quarter, he better keep running the football.
Yeah.
Because the matchup is you've got a bad run defense.
the other-
Why would you use your weakness against what is their strength?
The other thing is Brissett is not built to sling the ball around. He's just not. We cannot have him slinging 30 times. He cannot.
If he comes out slinging the rock like we the run and shoot Houston Oilers and the old AFC Central, I'm going to have to say it's time for you to pass your sheet up. Go ahead, give it to your boy Van Pelt. I can't watch that because that would mean that you blatantly disregard what is best for the team just so you can run what? Everybody who has a pair of eyes knows what you should be doing. But if you come out here and want to throw the football around with a backup quarterback, 1 receiver, and a bunch of journeyman cats or 6-rounders or gadget people gonna look at you like you crazy. I gotta re-examine what your viability is as a play caller if you come out here throwing the football.
You've got two thoroughbreds
Right.
on your offense.
Anthony, find
They're
my
in the backfield.
graphic, please.
Just run them. Just run them. Don't run a quarter horse if you got a thoroughbred.
Run the ball, Kevin.
Run it.
Yeah, please run the ball. Run.
Would you
Now,
call
if
it?
it's 21-0 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, it's a wrap at that point, and they probably will start throwing, but they're not going to have any success.
No.
If you go to the burger joint, the same burger chain, and it's the same burger chain. The hamburger's $1 selling over in this city. You go to another city, it's $1 over there, and $1 on the south side, $1 down in the state of Ohio. The hamburger's $1. That's what it is.
Yeah, right.
Stop looking for something else. Just pay the $1.
Wow, I hope we don't get into that scenario, and I hope you're wrong, McNuggets.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Yeah.
I just my gut aligns with what you guys are thinking. This may not be as close in the fourth quarter as Bull thinks.
I think you're going to be surprised. I really do.
Do you?
I
Well,
think
look,
it's going to be.
you're the only one that said that they would lose last week, and we all said they're going to win.
I think
you said
you're
no,
going
it's
to
a
be. I
no.
think you're going to be surprised by how competitive this game is. I think Browns have a pretty good chance to win it. Actually,
They had a
I
chance
do.
to win every game.
All right, you guys ready for the next one?
I agree with you.
Go ahead.
We got 2 more. These are not unanimous. Let's take the next one, Steve. Will Jacoby Brissett throw half as many touchdowns
Yeah, I
as
like
Justin Herbert? And let's see the answer. A 3-2 split. Brad, you say no. Let you start first.
Nah, because the touchdowns are coming off the ground, right? Listen, Jacoby's great in these little short passes here and there. I'm not looking for him to target me in the end zone. Maybe I'll get close, he might throw one. But Herbert's going to be slinging that ball, right? Mike Williams is going to be catching balls. They just are, because that's how they're built. And we on the other side, when we get to slinging it too much, it becomes a problem, right? But if you're running off the sheet, G, and just saying, okay, I got 7 passes I got to do here, 4 runs here, and you just saying statistically I'm running off the odds off this sheet, you can't play paint by numbers in this game. It just doesn't work.
Chargers are banged up. Herbert's banged up. Give me 2 and 1. I'll give Herbert
Yeah.
2 and Jacoby.
If
All-
he only
all they
throws
gotta-
for 2 touchdowns, I think the Browns have a very good chance to win.
All,
I just think
all
he's
he
got
got
to
to do is all they got to do is throw for 1. I think if you can say he gets 2, now if he throws for 3, he still got you got to throw 2 touchdown
Right.
passes. Which now let's get it finished.
Can we get 1.5?
1.5, maybe. Like there's an extra point to it. If they go for 2, does that count?
Here's what scares me the most about this matchup. We've seen 4 quarterbacks this year.
Right.
Baker is likely to be benched soon. If they had any kind of backup option, he would be benched already. Flacco is no longer starting in New York.
Right.
You had Trubisky for the Steelers.
He's
He
been benched.
is benched. And you had Marcus Mariota, who is what he is. Now you get, all of a sudden, you go from 4 lower tier quarterbacks in the league. Some of those guys might be below number 32 in
Right.
the league. Now you get the guy who's number 1.
Upper tier.
And so if those guys were able to look at their coverage breakdowns and go, oh my God, this is stealing. I'm thinking that what we have learned to be breakdowns that the teams have exposed,
Gonna be more
there
exposed.
might be a lot more that's exposed with a great quarterback in Justin Herbert who has a quick processing mind, has the arm to deliver the ball when he sees what's going on. I mean, we may have 3 or 4 breakdowns
Everything
that lead to
you're
touchdowns.
saying makes perfect sense. It's totally logical, and you'd be foolish not to agree with it. I just think that they're gonna, if I think they're gonna look at everything you just said and said we have to be like, maybe they didn't think that they had to be as sharp in the pass defense.
We'll see more man, won't we?
You have to be concerned.
This Judgment Day.
Flacco saw it. Remember the comments he made on the sideline?
I know.
Just hold on.
Yeah, we know it's there. We know we can get it.
It's
Flacco
coming.
told it to Adidi, who we'll get to after this last question. We're
it's
just trying to
coming.
get to the last question real
Yeah,
quick.
okay,
So
what is
Steve,
it?
let's get the last question. This is my favorite. Will the Browns have more sacks as a team than rushes allowed of 15 or more yards? We saw the Falcons torch him on the ground last week. Let's see the answer. It is not unanimous. And Jason, you will start
you are
because
so
you are
optimistic, Jay.
the optimistic one.
And I never get called the optimistic one.
No, I know. Although last week you're the only one that said that. Well, they were going to lose.
Yeah, I just think they're going to be locked in. I really
You
do.
do.
They're back
All
home.
right.
I'm telling you, the Chargers are beat up. Herbert shouldn't even be playing. Like, his rib is so jacked up, he shouldn't be playing.
But he played better last week.
Yeah, I know. But I think that they got embarrassed last week, and I think it's probably better for them this week that they lost last week.
If Myles Garrett is not on that field, Clowney's not on that field.
I think you're going to get one of them back.
If you get one
Garrett
of them back,
likely, right?
If you get one of them back, I'll give you thumbs up, right? You might get that off. Without him, this game is laughable on the ground.
I'm afraid you're right.
Laughable.
Yeah, I'm afraid
These
you're
guys up front, them rookies, Rochelle. I told you what I feel about Rochelle.
He's a practice squad
No,
guy.
no, I'm talking about the girl I had a crush on in 8th grade. That Rochelle. And she's better than this Rochelle. Come Come on. I see these guys. Listen.
Well, what did you say? Was it you that told us yesterday? Someone told us yesterday that the collective average of the PPF grade
20
on the defensive line was in the 20s.
20s.
It's low. It's very, very low.
20s.
That's unheard
You
of.
get 15% just for breathing. They be like, you got a pulse? Cool. You got a heartbeat? Yeah, go ahead. He got high blood pressure.
An extra 5 points.
Extra 5 points. That gets you to 20. They
It's
get
like the
24.
SATs where you got 200 points for just writing your name.
That's it. These guys, it's bad up front, bro.
But you're making the mistake in the NFL of believing that what happens this week is what's going to happen next week. And how many times have we seen that's not the case?
That is very true. It's a week-to-week league more now than ever before, in my opinion.
Well, here, in a way, I kind of see what you're saying, but another way here, let me tell you what I've seen since the preseason. They've had busted coverages every week since the preseason.
I know, that part has been consistent.
All right?
That part
That's not physical.
That's not here.
They'll probably have one again Sunday. They probably will.
They will.
But they're not the only team. Like, there's busts all over the NFL.
But they are far and
But
away
is
the
that-
league leader in busts.
They've
It's not
got
even
a
close.
lot of
But that
players.
is symbolic of a problem
Yeah.
because it's not getting corrected.
Let's bring in Adidi. Adidi,
Yep.
I don't know how long you've been on with us, but the general consensus here is it's not going to be pretty at First Energy Stadium. Although Jason believes that, the consensus is wrong. What's your 30,000 foot view of what's going to happen Sunday? What do you think?
I tend to lean a little bit more towards what Jason is saying.
Come on in, the water's warm.
Good.
Well, okay, look, Jacksonville went out to LA and did a number on the Chargers. And hello, it's time to start playing good defense. As much as you want to talk about Jacoby Brissett and whether he's going to match up with Justin Herbert, that's not the key here. This is a defense that is constructed to be amongst the NFL leaders in how you play defense, and they're not playing defense. I mean, that really has been the most, below par part of what the Browns are doing here. Run the ball, play good defense, you're at home, protect your home. And it's this whole idea of what's a winnable game and what's not a winnable game. It's funny because I just had this conversation with someone. From the outside, when I say someone, I mean an NFL player. From the outside, you might sit here and say, oh, well, those weren't great quarterbacks and this is a great quarterback. But if you're a professional athlete, if you're a professional football player, you better believe every single week when you take the field that is a winnable game. You don't get into all these conversations of, well, this is how Mitch Trubisky compares to Justin Herbert, or this is how Marcus Mariota compares to Tom Brady. You believe when you step on the field that you can win, and you should. And so this is a home game. The same way that you're saying Justin Herbert deserves all this, like, oh my goodness, he's Justin Herbert. Well, doesn't home field mean something? Doesn't that count for something?
Well, Didi, I think the people on the other side are a little apprehensive because we've seen blown coverages going back to last year. So I guess what my question is, what makes people think that that is corrected and then that won't rear its ugly head in the fourth quarter again?
Gee, nobody's going to think that until it actually happens. I mean, that's just the reality. We can sit here and talk as much as we want. We can say we believe in this secondary, we don't believe in this secondary. At the end of the day, those are the guys that are taking the field. It's time to put up. Like, that's it. That's what I'm saying. You're 4 games into the season. You're a quarter of the way, basically. How do you divide 17 by 4? Like, what is it like
It's
the
a pain
end
in
of
the
the
butt,
first
Adidi.
quarter?
It makes no sense.
Yeah, at the first quarter, you'll be at the quarter
Yes,
bowl.
that's exactly it. After the first quarter.
Right. It'll officially be a quarter of the way to this season.
Right.
We make all sorts of excuses early in the year. Okay, well, training camp is not the same. There's no more two-a-days. This is why tackling is awful. This is why quarterbacks and receivers need to kind of iron out their chemistry because they never actually play together in the preseason. We do all of that for the first month of the season. Okay, the first month is over. Now is the time to play like the contender that you are constructed to be. And we've talked about Myles Garrett and we've talked about Jadeveon Clowney and that nobody foresees this. But hey, there was a year where Tom Brady didn't play for the Patriots, and what did the Patriots do with Matt Castle? There was a year that Ben Roethlisberger was out and the Steelers nearly went to the playoffs with Duck Hodges. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you get to suit up the same number of guys, show up. Like, that's it. I just feel at this point, it's time for this defense to show up, and you're at home and you have the crowd behind you. you can't just sit here and tread water until Deshaun Watson shows up.
Well, let me say, Adidi, I agree with you in theory, right? That's how
In
it should
theory.
work. It's how it should work. But the reality of it is, when you talk about home, right? There's some places that you don't fear going into the place because it's not a tough place to play. Until you establish that, like you go to Three Rivers, well, it's not Three Rivers, in Heinz Field. That's a tough place.
Not even
Not
Heinz
Heinz
Field.
Field anymore.
That's a tough place.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
It's a tough place.
That
right?
place in Pittsburgh.
And so I would just tell you that, in theory, right, they should be stepping up because you 4 games of the season. Here's the deal: step up and be a pro, right? Well, guess what? If you got mismatched as players, they might not have the talent to do that, right? Because what I saw last week was I saw a team get bull rushed, stampeded on up front. I can't win anything like that.
Agreed.
Until that gets corrected, right? Until it gets corrected, you're going to have nothing, right? And I think the people on my side of it who are looking at it from the outside, because I'm just an NBA guy, right? But I'm not stupid, right? There's certain things that happen in sports that are consistently have to be done in order to win. And when I don't see that, I don't care what sport you're in, what profession you're in, you're going to struggle. And what I see right now, until the things get corrected over there, right? Till you call a spade, you're going to be a 500 or just below 500 team. This is where we're headed to, right? But I don't see that. It's just like the defensive front. The Togiai and them up front, that ain't going to happen, right? No. Go get me somebody because it's a problem. It's putting pressure on the other people. My linebackers are light. They're light, right? You let a guy off the practice squad run you down the field in Atlanta last Sunday. So what did we do this week to correct it? That's where that's where my issue is. Will we make the steps necessary, do the things necessary to change the tide of this team? If we don't, 500,
look,
less than 500.
So much of this is just mentality, and it doesn't matter if it's basketball. Go ask the Detroit Pistons back of in your generation, or go talk to Pat Riley.
You talking to a Piston? That's what I'm
saying. Talk to the Pistons. Talk to Pat Riley, who had the Knicks. There's a level of physicality that you need no matter what the sport is. I agree with you. And sometimes the way that you play up front is all about a mindset. Yeah. I also completely, totally agree with you. I want to say something about home, though.
Yeah.
First Energy Stadium has all of the ingredients to be one of the toughest home environments. That is a ridiculously loyal and rabid and loud fan base. The winds that swirl there, the environment there that is so unpredictable. That should be one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. It's a travesty that it hasn't been. So much of that has had to do with the players that were on the field. Well, now you don't have that excuse. This should be a tough place to play. This should be a home that is defended. But I completely agree with you on the physicality, and I agree with you about the line. And this is what we talked about with the defensive tackles in camp, that it was a young group, but that they seemed to have that hard-nosed mentality, that they were hungry, that they were physical. You're right. Let's see more of it. You shouldn't be letting people run on you. I don't care.
Especially backups.
She's spot on, right? But it requires at some point somebody take control of the reins, right? This is where we are, and I'm not one for making excuses for people.
You wanted them to go out and get Ndamukong Suh this week, didn't you?
Here, I'm gonna give you just a quick line. You got some people on the team that couldn't play dead at a funeral. Seriously. They couldn't play dead at a funeral.
When you running up and down the field, I don't see. Now, everybody doesn't have to be a rah-rah guy. Everybody don't got to drive through a fence. But you got to have at least one. I don't see one person, not from the coaching staff, that's animated. I don't see nobody on the defense that when they give it a place that's animated. I don't see nobody is in anybody's face.
Brad, does the team need that fire? When you were in the NBA, when your teams were winning and you were on a lot of winning teams, was that a necessary component to being successful? The guy that would stand up and get everybody's attention when the building was on fire?
It's an integral part of winning. You have to have people like that. Period. I don't care. Listen, this is not a nice business. It's just not, right? You have to have some. So in Chicago, Charles Oakley. In Detroit, Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer.
Udonis has them right now for the Heat.
You saw what he told Jimmy Butler last year when Jimmy Butler was acting a fool on the sideline. I will whoop your butt right here during the game. Facts, right? You have to have that.
Got to.
And I'm not saying that it's not occurring there,
We're not seeing it.
We're not seeing it, and it's not translating out on the field.
I think that's the best point Tyvis made yesterday, was there was nobody on that defense. When they were getting their ass whipped by the Falcons on that drive, there was nobody out there who could go, all right, come here. What are we doing? What is going on? Somebody put their foot in the ground right now and make a play. And I think it was probably because of the fact that all the guys that they were missing up front that we were talking about, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Anthony Walker is a huge loss that seems to get overshadowed with some of the other guys. So who is that guy? Who's that guy who's going to emerge and say, this cannot happen again?
Jason, I just, to Adidi's point, I just thought about something. You always have to have a guy, you know who that guy is? The guy that's willing to fight you right there on the spot, right?
You know who comes to mind for me? Steve Smith. Remember Steve Smith when he was with
Carolina? Carolina.
No, Adidi.
Hold on. I saw it last night. Did you see what happened last night in Golden State?
Yeah.
Draymond
said, I'm going to whoop you, Jordan Poole, right here. Yeah. Yes, I am. Now, I'm going to do you right here.
Adidi, how many, you go back to your Pittsburgh days, they had like 5 of them.
Oh, my God.
They had 5 guys. Harrison, Joey Porter, they had all these guys. Cam Hayward is still one of them dudes. They got 5 or 6 of them. Do you see any of those comparable players over? They're not as innovative as they was in Pittsburgh.
You know, it's funny because that was a point of conversation maybe a year ago, that maybe the Steelers didn't have the same nasty. They didn't have the same edge that they did at some point. But I mean, Cam Hayward is a guy. It's funny. I was with Chris Wormley, who plays defensive end for the Steelers last night. And we were exactly talking about this, how in this charity softball game, Cam Hayward wouldn't let me run to first base. I mean, he literally elbowed me out of the way so I couldn't beat out this grounder. And Wormley says to me, I mean, it's a great story. I hit this weak grounder to short. Kenny Pickett's playing short. Kenny tries to do me a solid and throws the ball behind his back, pulls Cam Hayward off of first base just so I could get there. And Cam races to get the ball, then elbows me out of the way to get to first base before me. And I'm telling the story to Wormley, and Wormley goes, you know, I think that Cam would do the same thing to his 3-year-old daughter. I think he would do the same thing to his mother. And there are guys like that. I mean, I think about Antonio Brown having 3 Ravens tackling him on Christmas Day short of the goal line. Yeah. Antonio Brown ran over every single one of them, including Eric Weddle, to get in that end zone. And it was, he'd run over his own mother to get in the end zone. Who on the Browns can you say that about right now? Who's got that competitiveness?
So, Adidi, I see the same thing you see. So you have a guy that's out on the free agent market, that's out here sitting in a... And Ndamukong Suh is a nasty dude. Just follow him. He's a nasty dude, right? We need a nasty here. We do.
No, you're right.
It's not going to be J.O.K. No. It's not going to be Phillips.
It's that famous video from the college coach who was telling the media, we need more dogs in here. Yeah. We need more dogs.
You know, and I'll give you Jay. I'll give you something else because it's interesting. Robert Saleh with the Jets has been very, very honest about that one of the things that he felt when he came in was that he needed a roster of, to your point, dogs, guys that love the game of football, guys that are ridiculously competitive about the game of football, and that has been part of the process is getting a mindset in there, a collective mindset. And so to what you're saying, you know, this is kind of, it's funny because this is an argument I've sort of had, I hate to say with Mike Tomlin because Mike Tomlin doesn't waste time arguing with me, but I've kind of like publicly said, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers don't like to bring in veterans that are on a 3rd contract. Right? Like they like young players. They like their own. They want to grow and develop their own. And then maybe they'll sign somebody who's on their 2nd contract. They don't like older guys. And I remember when I first came into Pittsburgh, the Steelers were 8-8. They were 8-8. What I felt was missing was that veteran leadership. And a few years later, I remember talking about this with Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator, that they needed a Thomas Davis, that they needed a guy who maybe wasn't playing at the same level as he once did, but he brought a professionalism, an attitude, a nasty to the locker room and taught younger guys. And so maybe I can't give you 60 snaps. It's like the Ravens bringing in Jason Pierre-Paul. They don't want 60 snaps out of him, but they want 25, and they want all the other stuff that he brings. And so I think I agree with you. I think there's an argument to be made there that a roster construction isn't only about the 53 most talented guys that you can get.
It's the
that
pieces and
sometimes
parts.
it's about getting the guy that only gives you the 20, 25 snaps, but gives you so much more in the lunchroom and the locker room.
So, Adidi,
but I'll
to that
also
point,
tell you, I've had lots of coaches who make way more money than me and that are obviously the experts at this disagree. I mean,
yeah.
It seems obvious to me. It seems obvious to you, obviously. But
earlier this week, too, you made the point that, sometimes we get it wrong when we're on the outside. And we do have to say, we don't know what's going on. There might be 5 dogs in there that stand up at halftime and scream and yell and shout. At the end of the day, we're just not seeing it. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that every team has to have one of those. But Ndamukong Suh is a guy who's out there, who's been linked to the Browns, who plays a position that we are woefully weak at. Are you hearing anything at all in terms of discussions about bringing this guy in? And that is a guy, by the way, that is dogged to the core.
I have to be honest with you. I haven't even checked in on that. So I hate to sit here and act like, oh, I have or oh, I haven't, because I truly haven't checked in. But to your point, we don't know what his health status is. It's not at all that the Browns are afraid to make moves. We know that this is, look at how quickly they picked up Pharaoh Brown, and they are so deep at tight end and feel so good about their tight end room. So Andrew Berry's never been afraid of doing something like that. There may be more at play than we are privy to. We don't know. Oftentimes, too, I'll tell you this, a veteran might want to play, but he doesn't want to play for less than X amount of money.
Yeah,
Sure.
And
right.
I've had
That's
this
possible.
conversation with many players who think that they can still play, but I'm not signing for less than $6 million. I'm not signing whatever that number is. So there could be some of that at play as well. The fine line, and this is another one that I'll, again, because I had this opportunity to talk to Chris Wormley of the Steelers yesterday, outside, whether it's the media or the fans in the city of Pittsburgh, they think the sky is falling. Like, oh my gosh, this is the worst offense ever, and oh my gosh, this is terrible, and oh my gosh, this. Chris Wormley was like, we are literally this close. Like, we are so close to getting it right. And how many times have you heard a coach say, it is a fine, fine line between winning and losing, or it is a game of inches? And I know that they sound like cliches, but it really, truly is. Sometimes that's all it is. It's 1 inch. It's 1 foot getting in bounds. It's one player running as crisp a route as possible or cutting it off a foot short. It's sometimes something that small. So even though it's not sexy when Jacoby Brissett says it's about execution, sometimes it really is.
Yeah, I know. Adidi, I agree with that.
One moment.
But at the same time, we're living in a world where almost half the league is 2-2, and every one of those 2-2 teams can point to 1 or 2 plays in their 2 losses and say, if we're 4-0. So yeah, it is a fine line between 1-3 and 3-1. But the fact of the matter is, the 1 and 3s haven't consistently made those plays, and the 3 and 1s have. We got to wrap. Before I do, I want your thought on something. Okay. This is really sad. Adam the Bull sent this to us this morning. This is a tweet he saw on Twitter. Okay. Want to hear a sad Bears fact? Tom Brady has 23,996 career passing yards, 174 touchdowns in his 40s alone. That's 500 more yards and 20 more touchdowns than the Bears' all-time passing leader, Jay Cutler. Tom Brady, playing only in his 40s, would be the Bears' leading passer in team history. And here's the sad part, Adidi. That is awful for the Bears. But I looked it up, and he would also be the leader in yards and touchdowns for our Cleveland Browns. In his 40s, Tom Brady has accomplished more than any quarterback in the history of the Cleveland Browns. Wow. Okay, so 2 points to that. 40s are a golden age. I think it's lovely.
I'm enjoying my 40s.
You're going to be in your 40s. Thank you very much. But the other piece to that is, I bet Tom Brady right now would like his marriage to be intact rather than being the Browns or the Bears passing leader.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You talk about Cam Hayward knocking his 3-year-old out of the way if he had to win a softball game. Tom Brady's wired differently than anybody I've ever known.
Adidi, I was the only one on the set who said, "Go home and be a dad, man. There's nothing else for you to accomplish.
Hey.
Just go home. Just go home."
Yeah.
Here's the
Seriously, and I think that that's one of the big things. No matter how much professional success you attain, at the end of the day, it's the people that you say goodnight to. It's your family. It's your home. That's your legacy.
I'm with you.
Kids, your family, your partner, and it just ultimately, at the end of the day, counts for so much more. And I think that Tom Brady gets that. I really do. When we heard him very, very honestly at training camp say, "I'm 45 years old. There's just a lot of
going on.
Like, how many of us felt that?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've always really, really enjoyed him. I've enjoyed every interaction I had with Giselle. Maybe there's a lot of smoke. We obviously don't know what's fully, truly going on, but I just wish them the best, obviously.
As we all do. And you make some great points. Adidi, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Yep, we'll see you next week.
I like what Adidi gives the tea. She was told she was going to tell me the tea. You lucky we ran out of time. She had all the insides of Tom Brady.
She wasn't going to spill anything.
I was on the interrogate.
She wasn't going to.
Look, she got something, don't she?
She does.
I told you.
But look, Tom Brady, so what's the difference between 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7? He's the GOAT, period, end of discussion. And there's very few GOAT conversations that you can say there isn't somebody that's in the discussion. Right. It's just Tom at this point, but that dude still wants one thing, another ring. It's unbelievable. Mikey.
We got to do what the internet says before we take a break and bring in our first guest. Whenever we tell you what the internet's saying, it's brought to us by our good friends at PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wycliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Yeah, all three. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
PCC.
PCC. That's a great Adam LeBlanc.
We actually have a view.
Don't you have the video clip of Adam doing that?
That's funny. But we have hey, Steve, we pull up one. It's the only video not labeled in today's folder. Eddie sent us one.
His arm's short.
He got a little alligator arms.
Little rocket soccer robot.
My favorite is when he couldn't reach the trash can to throw
Hey, hold
up.
on. This is from Eddie. I forgot to label this, but Eddie sent us a jingle for today.
He did.
PCC, I'm powerful. PCC,
These guys are
nuts.
These guys are nuts.
Can we get him in here? I need to meet this man.
Eddie got a T-shirt. I sent him a T-shirt.
G-Bush is right. We do need him in studio.
I need him here.
Has this guy ever missed a show that we've done?
Ever.
I'm not sure, but he's here all the time. We love Eddie.
We love Eddie. Eddie, great jingle. He's a great jingle man. He's clearly. How do you have field access? I'm a little concerned about that.
Actually, now that I played that, are we legally allowed to show that because it was on Browns?
No, we're all going to prison. We're all going to Browns prison.
McNuggets is worried about the security. I don't know, man. He is ground level.
How did Bro get field access is what I need to know right now.
He down there.
He sent me this I'm not going to lie, a couple weeks ago. It's been in the queue. So this may be a preseason game, so maybe not as...
He's still on the field.
He's on the field.
I ain't never been on the field. What you mean?
And he's down there singing jingles for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
He look in the first row.
Yeah, I think he's in the first row.
He's in the first row.
And he's in the first row. All right, we got to get
that's the field, bro. That's the field.
I saw the security guard.
He'll clear it up with
internet answers real quick, because then we got to bring Matt Kaulig in.
Yeah, Matt's here. Matt is in the building.
What is one thing the Browns need to do Sunday in order to slow down Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense? We got a ton of answers. Some
Keep him
funny,
from
some
touching
serious.
the field.
And
let's take him. Let's take the first one.
Let's see.
Use the running game for long, sustained drives to keep the Chargers offense off the field. Boring, run-oriented football. Don't get into a shootout. We will lose that battle. Let's see the next one. Put 15 guys on the field because the 11 we have now aren't getting it done.
I think that's a penalty.
Let's go to the next one. It's only a penalty if you get caught. This is the Brad meme.
Oh, I saw that during the game.
Keep them off the field. I have never seen an offense score a touchdown from the bench. Bees Nuts answers all the time. Thank you, Bees Nuts, for that.
Well, Kevin.
And last but not least,
Bees Nuts.
More tight end sweeps on 4th and short. Would really like to see the offense commit to this and not give up on it just because it didn't work once or twice.
Real quick, this reminds me when LeBron was in Miami and the Cavs had Alonzo G when they were awful.
Oh,
And Byron Scott was the head coach, and somebody asked Byron, what are you going to tell Alonzo on how to guard LeBron? He goes, we're going to get together, we're going to lay hands on him, and we're going to pray.
That's about what it was. So that's what the Browns need to do.
Just get together, lay hands on him, and pray.
All right.
All right, let's take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. Matt Kaulig is in the building. He's gonna take the middle chair when we come back. There he is. He is Cleveland's most interesting man.
Ever.
I'll guarantee you that. We're going to talk to Matt when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show comes right back.
Hey Cleveland, it's Adam the Bull. And if you love sports as much as I do, then you've got to be watching the new Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. But if you don't have 2 hours to watch it live or on YouTube, well, there's a podcast version, so you're in luck. Listen to it anytime, anywhere. We're doing things on this show that no one else is doing. We're getting crazy. Find out for yourself. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
What matters most to me is family. Sometimes you don't realize how important it is until you're away from them.
What matters most to Jay? His family. He is a big family man. What matters most to me? My family, my safety, your safety.
I think the thing that most impresses me about Betsy is her versatility. Give her any assignment that involves going in front of a television camera, and she's going to knock it out of the park.
What's new with Betsy and Jay? Weekdays at 5 on 3. Recognize that feeling? It is the feeling of being together, enjoying the company of a familiar face, and sharing moments that matter to you, to me, to us. What matters to some could impact all of us, especially in a place like Northeast Ohio. Here, stories are shared from east to west to south. Stories of perseverance, of family, of love. If a story brings us together, it's what matters most.
Hi, my name is Jay Crawford. I am a lifelong Cleveland sports fan. I have carried my fandom every city I've ever lived in. People have always asked me, why are you so diehard about Cleveland? It's because I'm from here. And we know how much our teams mean to us. Most of us know that because of our parents. In my case, my father was just a huge Cleveland sports fan. It was really part of our life. It was woven into everything we did. And it was our connection throughout his life.
Well, I would definitely say that I would stand up.
You would stand up and say that's going to happen. Yeah. Hey, welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So normally when we have guests, we give them T-shirts. That's about all we have, right. I think. And that's all we have is T-shirts.
And a firm handshake.
And we're going to give you T-shirts.
We have them down here. They're right there.
Matt Collett comes in here, and he's handing out hats.
Yes.
He's handing out koozies. Yeah. And most importantly,
donuts.
Let's get rid of the smell. The man brought us food.
Like, what you?
Open that up, Jay.
Wow, this is from Becker's, too. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to pass this box around. Can we get a shot of this?
Oh, yeah.
This is how Matt Kaulig rolls.
Right.
First class everything.
You are welcome every day I'm here.
I'm going to go with that one right
Jay,
there,
you
bro.
stalling. Stop stalling
I know,
on these.
I can't stall.
Is this
Matt, it's great to see you, man.
Man, it is so good to be here. I love talking sports. Here you go.
You don't want one?
I don't want one. I already had 3.
How do you think he keeps that girlish figure?
Yeah, right.
And no, it's just awesome to be on the show and hang out with you guys, and it's cool to be here.
You played quarterback at Akron, didn't you?
Played University of Akron. Yep. Played 91 to 95. So with Coach Faust.
Wow.
So
Jerry Faust.
I grew up in Cincinnati and then went to high school in Chicago, in Chicagoland, at a place called Crystal Lake South, and then came to the University of Akron and played for the Zips. Played at the old Rubber Bowl.
I'm a Bobcat.
Right.
Did you guys ever go to the Rubber Bowl?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
the old Rubber Bowl.
I went to OU, and we played there. And now that old Rubber Bowl with the huge crown, oh, goodness. That was the first AstroTurf.
So let me tell you a quick story. So I think in 94, we were, we had some tough times. So it was Coach Faust's last year. And we went into the last game, we were 0-10. That's back when we played 11 games. Mm-hmm. We were 0-10. We played Ohio U, who was also 0-10.
Oh, no.
So it was the first time in, I think, NCAA history that both teams were 0-10 going into the last game. And so ESPN dubbed it the Toilet Bowl.
Boy.
And so it was the Toilet Bowl. We played the Toilet Bowl.
I hope you tied.
We actually won.
Yeah.
So we ended up being 1-10. Ohio U was 0-11 that year. But
sorry, big fella.
It's okay.
Sorry, big fella.
It's all right.
So your love of sport, I mean, it's not just football either. I've talked all sports with you, and your knowledge on all the sports go deep.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated a couple of years ago. I didn't know that you were a NASCAR guy. You just decided, hey, let's start a couple of NASCAR teams. How has that gone for you?
Well, it's gone unbelievably well. So I think back in 2000, you guys know I had Leaf Filter. I started a company, out of my house back in 2005,
That's crazy.
and have grown it. We've got 150 offices in the U.S. and Canada, and so got into NASCAR as a sponsor. So back in 2014, just started sponsoring cars and got into it that way.
How did that happen? Someone just approached you about a sponsorship?
Literally, somebody approached me about sponsorship.
What
Said,
did you
"Hey,
know about NASCAR?
Actually, my dad had been involved, and his company was a sponsor back, even when I was a kid.
Right.
So more so in Indy cars. He worked for a brake parts company called Rebestis Brakes.
Yeah.
And so he worked in marketing for that company. And so we would go to IndyCar. We went to Indianapolis every year for the 500 in Indy cars. And so just was trying to expand Leaf Filter and, was on a car. And then we had fun with it. And I kind of got the bug as far as employee involvement and everything else. And being I'm crazy entrepreneurial and, like I said, love sports, and got to know some of the other owners in the sport. And said, hey, how do we win? How do we go faster? What do we need to do? And so I literally just started my own team. And,
wow.
And
that's not easy to do.
No,
you make it
not
sound
easy
like,
to do.
so I did it.
And so especially even in the Cup Series, you could do it. Like you can't just create a baseball team. Like if we said, I know we own part of the Guardians now, but if we all just wanted to start a Major League Baseball team, you can't. You got to buy a franchise.
Right. There's 30 of them, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. NASCAR's a little bit different, where in the lower series, like the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series, you can really just start a team. Now you've got to align with some of the other teams, or you've got to you need to know who the manufacturer is. You have to run a Chevy or a Ford or a Toyota, but we were able to figure that out. So back in 2016, aligned with Richard Childress Racing and got Chevy.
Stealing our donuts.
Where's our donuts, dude?
They're about to eat them.
They're salivating behind the glass, Matt.
What car are you aligned with here?
Well, so we are aligned with Richard Childress Racing, but that was more for engineering and support in the beginning. So and so now we have. I bought 2 charters, they call it. That's what NASCAR is. That's what franchises are.
Okay.
There's 36 basically franchises in NASCAR. So I own 2 of them.
Okay.
Wow.
And so now we have 2 full-time cars in the Cup Series,
which
race
is
on
the major
Sundays.
leagues.
Yeah,
That's the big boys.
That's the big boy. And then
and that costs at least $100 a year, doesn't it? $100?
At least $100.
Yeah. It's not cheap, kids. You have no idea how expensive this is.
I'm over here like, hey, Jay. And Jay tells me all the expensive stuff. I just ask him, how much that cost?
What is Jordan's team? What team does Jordan have?
It's a Kaulig Racing. Yeah.
So yours is
So we
Kaulig,
have
right.
Justin Haley in the 31 car, and then we share the 16. Actually, we just had what we call Fan Day down in at our race shop yesterday. It was just yesterday down in North Carolina. And we announced that A.J. Allmendinger is going to run full-time in the Cup next year.
Very good.
So we'll have A.J. Allmendinger and
he's
Justin
a very accomplished driver.
Very awesome. And we just won Saturday. We just won at Talladega, on Saturday. So AJ's won 4 times this year. He won the regular season championship in the Xfinity Series. So we're in the playoffs now in NASCAR, and we're doing great.
Tell us about that rock on your finger there.
So this is from where's the camera? This is from Daytona. Back, I think in 2018, that's our very first win in NASCAR. So
it's a nice place to get your first win.
Ross Chastain won. We actually finished 1, 2, 3 that day.
Oh, wow.
And it was super awesome. So they gave us these rings.
First, second, and third.
First, second, and third.
Yeah.
So our very first win in NASCAR, we absolutely dominated Daytona.
That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a really surreal moment and fun day. But yeah, they gave us these rings, so I'm like, I'll wear that thing every day.
Hell yeah.
So I literally wear this thing every day.
I would too.
And so when I fist bump people,
boom. See, now I'm asking. I gotta bring my rings in. Like they listen. Yeah, I need a couple of those.
Yeah.
You are And are you based in North Carolina? Is that where the shop is?
That's right.
When I lived in North Carolina 2 years,
Yeah.
and racing is like unbelievable. It's
like football
God.
here.
Yeah.
People will be outside. Now, how are you trying to kind of move that and kind of grow that in other different places where you're at?
Well, we're doing, I have business and I have businesses. I have a bunch of businesses. So sponsorship is a really big part of NASCAR. But we're just trying to take over. I mean, somebody has to win. Somebody has to do it. That's what we say about the Guardians and the Browns. And somebody's going to win the Super Bowl, right? Somebody's going to win the World Series. Somebody's going to win NASCAR championships. So, we've been blessed business-wise that we're able to do it. And again, for all of these sports teams and franchises, you have to have money, right? Even to own the things, you have to have money. You got to start there. So we've been fortunate enough to have some money and now be able to go win and accomplish what we're trying to accomplish.
That world is, it's not so much now, but it used to be incredibly cliquey. There were 2 or 3 big names that had the teams and the chance and the opportunities, and they always won everything.
Yeah.
And
it's still that way.
It is that way. However, I know that they had to be sitting in a room going, wait, who's this Matt Kaulig fella?
Yeah.
And where is this guy coming from? But that didn't intimidate you or slow you. That just made you more determined to go get what they have.
Yeah, and there's, you're right, Jay. These guys have been doing it. Most of these guys have been doing it for 50 years. I said
some of the multi-generations.
Yeah, I mean, 50. I think Richard Childress has been doing it for 50 some years. Roger Penske.
Yeah.
I think he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Joe Gibbs, has been doing it for a year. I mean, and again, I don't mean to say that they're getting old, but they're Richard Petty has been doing it for, I don't know, 60 years.
It's time for someone to replace that guard.
There's going to be replacement, and so we're one of those younger generation teams. You've got Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan.
Right. Yeah.
Now at 23-11.
Yeah.
You've got Justin Marks, who's a younger guy than I am. That has a team. He's with Pitbull. So Pitbull and Justin Marks, are making their mark in the series. So we're trying to be that next generation. We have a next generation car, but I'm trying to be that next generation owner that is going to take over. So,
but I have to believe that your sports background is helpful to you, because when you talk about playing in the toilet bowl, you got to know what it's like to be on the field, right?
Yeah.
And you got to know what it's like to have to be able to be in a position to actually win and want to win.
That's right.
So I got to feel like that helps you in that sport.
I think it definitely helps in that sport, and I come at it from a different angle than these guys in NASCAR that are car guys. I'm not a car guy. I didn't grow up in racing in the sport. And so I come at it from a business perspective and even from a football, perspective. I played quarterback, and I think that's been it's the leadership that was created. I think that you have to be able to lead on the field. I mean, you have a huddle, and that you're in charge of the huddle as a quarterback. And I think the lessons that I learned on the football field and as a leader and the quarterback has really helped in business, and then really helps run a race team, because you can lead and teach these other, the crew chiefs and, how to be leaders and how to translate what you learn from football into racing. Racing's an unbelievable team sport. I mean, it's, you're racing a car, but you have one driver that's in there and he's racing, but all the teamwork that goes into it is just, it's almost undescribable,
Let me ask you this, because we had an interesting discussion earlier.
Yeah.
From your perspective, I don't care what you're in, business, sport, anything. When you sit in from the position you sit in as the CEO on top of the profession, when you see that you're missing something, what is your responsibility? If your team is missing something, is it to call shots as they see them, spade, like, I am missing this and I have to go get this?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting in a team. I always use the analogy. So, and I'll say, I went to the University of Akron. When I first came in to be as a freshman, there were 6 quarterbacks. You know, I mean, that it just happens. You're sitting at a quarterback meeting, and there's 6 of you. And so we had a senior quarterback, and the coach wasn't like, hey, that guy's our quarterback. The 5 of you guys, you're not going to play. You know, it just isn't going to happen that way. So it's the responsibility of like either the team captains and the coaches to put the best players on the field. And so it's a weird dynamic sometimes in sports or on teams that you have to hold each other accountable. If we're the offensive line, let's say we're the Browns offensive line, and you've been playing, you're the left guard, you've been playing for years, you're an all-pro, but like you're just not doing, you're not doing your job. It's the responsibility of the coaches to put the best players on the field. And so, you know, it's a hard dynamic sometimes on teams. Even you guys were talking about Tom Brady before. I mean, he's the best, but like if he's not playing well, it's the responsibility of the coach to be able to replace him, no matter who he is or what he's done, you know, in his life. It's a responsibility to do that. And I think every player, you know, this happens. It happens in business, you know, where you have to replace people. Anyway. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
But you have sometimes tough decisions have to be made. You can't be afraid to make them.
Have to be made, and you have to make them
for the betterment of the team.
For the benefit of the team,
right?
And you want. It's like it's not fair to me if I'm a player, if I or the coaches allow just you to not bring it every day. And so even though we're all friends and everything else, it's the responsibility. It's for the betterment of the team.
Everybody has to be accountable.
What made you? You know, you're a business guy. You could have put your resources in a number of places. What made you put those resources with the Guardians?
Well, because just we had the opportunity to. You know, I mean, you know, when David Blitzer was putting a team together or putting, you know, a group together, I mean, they had asked us. We've been involved, for the last 4 years with the Guardians. I mean, we feel like we've been great partners with the Dolans. We've done the Give-a-thon every year.
Which has raised a boatload of money.
Yeah, we've raised over $1 million now, you know, for these kids, you know, to play baseball and softball here in Cleveland. And so just our ability to do that or our passion to be able to give back to the community and to really help the Guardians. You know, we've met all the PR people and all the marketing people, and so again through the philanthropy, and so Paul Dolan, they wanted us to be part of the group and part of the ownership group. One, because we're you know, we have the resources and we love Cleveland, but we're here in Cleveland. We're a Northeast Ohio
What has it been
company.
like for you so far? I know it's early on, but
well, it's been amazing. I mean, ever since we got involved, you know, the team's been phenomenal.
It's the Kaulig factor. I'm telling you, it's the Kaulig factor.
I don't know. It might be.
Everything this guy touches turns to gold. You were born under the right star, Matt.
I don't know.
I'm telling you,
something's going on. But
any interest in owning the Browns?
Yeah. I mean,
there it is.
We just solved all the problems.
No, I didn't say that. You said that. But of course, would you have interest in owning the Browns?
Between all of us, I think we took past the hat. We came up with $1,142. So we're a little short. But if you want to kick in the rest, we're in.
The Haslams. I'm not trying to own the Browns, but like it would be fun to be. It would obviously be fun to be part. Just like the Cavs, just like the Guardians. Like it's just fun to be part of.
I mean, I know you grew up in Cincinnati and then
Cincinnati,
Chicago. When did you cross the threshold into joining this universe of pain, rooting for Cleveland sports teams?
It's well, I think just as soon as I moved here, you know, so I moved here in '91, came to the University of Akron, and so I've been here literally since '91.
And you immersed yourself in the Cavs, Browns, Indians right away.
Like right away.
Yeah.
But I always said,
we're sorry,
and I mean no disrespect to the Browns, but like they've made it really hard to be a
Browns fan.
What you mean?
Like, right? Of course.
But I've always been. I've been like now growing up in Cincinnati. It was like that was the rivalry. I mean, big rivalry. It was you hated Cleveland.
Boomer and
Cleveland
Bernie.
hated Cincinnati. So living up here and then even going to the Browns game, you know, I gradually, slowly, you know, moved towards you know, the Browns.
Well, welcome to the dark side.
So, but it's there are definitely ups and downs, and you do get excited. I'm excited about them this year. You know, I mean, we're only 4 games in, and you know,
we're in first place.
2-2. We're in first place. But we do this every year, right? You get excited, and then it's just it makes it hard. But
So since
I am optimistic that it's going to be a great season.
Matt, since you said that, right? Since you said that, and you keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
What are they missing?
The Browns?
Yes.
I don't know. I actually I don't know. I think even watching them on Sunday, and I didn't get to watch the Atlanta game. We were racing.
Okay.
But
You want me to tell you what they're missing?
You tell us.
They're missing culture. They're missing structure, stability, and a foundation.
Well,
That's what they're missing.
Well, you shouldn't have been in the league then. What are you talking about?
But that's.
Those are
you know
the
better than
foundations.
And that's like saying I'd be a great athlete if I was faster, stronger, and taller.
But this is the part of ownership. This is where everyone asks, what's the part of ownership? Yeah, you have to spend money, yes, but you have to have core values and structure and stability. That's what aggravates me about the whole conversation with the Dolans is they have all of that. The one component they don't have is the spending component.
the money.
And it's really important.
Yeah. Right.
You have to spend. It's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
But you also need all the other stuff.
Right.
And that's what the Cavs for years did not have.
Yeah.
But
that's what the Browns have never had. But that's what's missing.
I don't care. You can go back to the Guardians, the Indians. That component comes from the top, but it really is implemented by the coaching staff, right?
Well, but to your point, if you got the wrong
Hargrove.
coach in there and it's a rotating door and it's always
but I'm
the
saying,
wrong
but
coach,
when you have the right coach in there, Hargrove,
ownership has
Tito.
to make the right decisions.
Right.
They have to empower the right general
That's
manager,
exactly it.
the right
That's
head
exactly
coach.
it. Put
and
the right people in the way.
That's exactly
put
what
the right
the
people in
Dolans have
position
done.
And get the hell out of the way.
right?
Well, and the executives and everybody at the organization has stayed and has wanted to stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Mike Chernoff turned down his hometown team to stay here.
I can't believe Chris is still here.
I know.
I can't. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. As I talk to people in other organizations, this franchise, the Guardians, are the envy of Major League Baseball because they're not spending money. They're 28th in payroll.
I keep saying it. I'm telling you, John Sherman just fired everybody in Kansas City.
Yes.
Wait and see how many people. Wait and see how many people Kansas City plucks from Cleveland. He
Well, they're
knows
going
it
to
better than
try.
anyone.
I hope he doesn't. But yes, I mean, he knows that what's missing. He's been in Kansas City a couple of years. What's missing? Well, the people. The people behind the scenes that you don't see. The people that are making scouting decisions and that are in player development. The Guardians' infrastructure, if you could put that infrastructure with the Browns and with the Cavs, we'd have 3 winning teams here consistently.
Put Dan Gilbert's spending ability with the Dolan's weight of running a franchise, you'd be a top 3 team every single year.
Yeah.
Every single year. You'd be
That's kind
championship
of hard
contender.
to do.
You would be the Yankees.
Yeah.
You would be a championship contender every year.
because it isn't that easy. And so the Yankees, I don't know if every year they are a championship team, even though they have all the resources.
Right.
But like you said, it's the cultural thing. Like the New England Patriots were for a couple decades. They just win. They rinse and repeat. They just win. They have a winning culture, and so it's good that we get to talk about the Guardians that way. It doesn't seem like it's always been that way, but what have we won 90 games the last five times?
Third most wins in
Bobby DiBiasio was in
Monday.
Tuesday. He told us that over the last 10 years, no team in the American League has won as many games as the Indians Guardians, and they are 4th out of 30 in that span. And if you look at their payroll, they will be consistently. Now, they did have a stretch there in 16-17 where they did spend some money, but this year they're 28th. And somehow, some way you look up, they win 92 games. And here they are hosting a wild card series. And
17 guys made their major league debut this year.
Right.
I said it Monday. That's a recipe for a 100-loss season.
it is.
And
Typically, that's the Detroit Tigers this year.
And they're hosting a playoff game tomorrow afternoon.
And then we'll host another one Saturday, and if needed, Sunday.
Let me ask you this question. This is off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
When we started this show, we were a startup. This guy right here, Steve, called me. I was working a corporate job. He said, "Hey, you want to do some TV stuff?" I said, "Sure." I said, I thought he was joking. I hung up.
He did. He thought, Buddy playing a
I
prank
thought-
on him.
hung up. Whatever, dog. Like, I was on YouTube. Whatever.
It's Jake Taylor in the Mexican League with the
Then he hit me
sombrero.
back, right? He calls me back, and I'm saying, "Oh, cool." I meet this guy. He drives from Texas, and then we see Jay. I'm like, "Oh, I think this might be real. I know he has a real job. So at some point, this is a thing that you start from the ground up. When you're an entrepreneur like yourself, you get out of college. What makes you want to start a business in your basement? How did that come about?
I've always been intrigued with even getting better. So, if it was on a little league team, it's like I wanted to play. I think we all feel that way. Like, you teach your kids from a young age, like be the best you can be. But but that's the analogy that I use. That I wanted to be, I wanted to be a starter. I wanted to play. And then once you're a starter, then it's like, hey, there's an all-star team that you can make.
Right.
I want to be on the all-star team.
Right.
And so I want to do that. So even when I started, I went to the University of Akron. Like you said, you're sitting in a quarterback meeting, and there's 6 of you.
Yeah.
Well, I want to play. So what do I have to do to be the starter?
Right.
Because only one person's going to be the starter. And then what do I need to do to not only start, but let's win some games. So the winning part of the game was hard to figure out. But we did win the toilet bowl.
Yeah, at least you got that.
And
got that.
but then same thing in business. I started my very first job out of business school out of Akron was working for a remodeling company. So we sold windows and siding and kitchens and baths and all that stuff. And so, started to, and then try to figure out how to be the manager. Well, the sales manager makes more money than the salesman. So how do I get his job?
Right.
And so it becomes that. So then become a sales manager, and then how do you move up in the company? I mean, it's the same thing on sports teams as it is in business. How do you do?
And the competitive ones typically are the ones that climb to the top.
That's right.
They want more. They want to better themselves.
And then it's like, all right, well, I think I could do this myself. It was the same thing I said about NASCAR, right? It's like, I think I could do this better myself. So I literally, after 8 years at a company, literally quit my job and started working out of my house, selling gutter screens. So, I told my wife, I said, I think I can make more money just selling gutter screens out of my house.
Now that's a huge leap of faith.
How'd that conversation go?
So I think she believed me. So
I think it's worked out okay for you.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
How did that come? How did they do? I've wondered. I've never asked you this, but I've wanted to. Like, what was the epiphany moment where you're like, "Holy crap!
Well,
I can keep everything out of the gutter, and I can make it and install it." How did that come about?
Well, I just started as a dealer. So like I said, I was in the remodeling industry and came across this product called Leaf Filter. And it's a surgical grade stainless steel screen that literally keeps everything out of the gutters. So I was like, it's like magic where nothing sticks to it and it just it keeps everything out. So I could sell this. If you have a house and you have trees, I mean, it looks easy. It's easy to sell. And so, I mean, it doesn't sell itself, but like if there was ever a product, I was I can make money doing this. So, so then I did. And so I knew, again, I worked for 8 years. So I was 31 years old. And
but you collected a lot of lessons along the way.
That's right. So then, I had a marketing person and I had one installer, and then I sold all the jobs. So I went to everybody's. I sold all our jobs in 2005, and then started growing the company.
That's crazy.
In 2006.
It just showed up.
And then I started opening offices.
Okay.
So then I opened a Pittsburgh office, Columbus office, Toledo office. I could drive there every day if I needed to. So then I had 4 offices, and then the next year I had 3 more offices, and so have just grown, since then. So again, now took over the manufacturing of Leaf Filter. This is several years ago, but bought the patent. I just figured out how to grow and how to take over.
Where you manufacturing?
Incredible.
Where you
manufacturing in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and Louisville, Kentucky.
What's crazy is, so I mother is the necessity of invention. I didn't even know that these things existed. I lived in Tampa, Florida, and I had oak trees all around my house, and I was constantly cleaning my gutters, constantly. When I moved here, I back to the woods, and I had, I just was looking at I'm the guy that's standing out, looking out my window going, what the hell am I going to do with all these leaves?
Right.
And it was a new house, and, water is the enemy. Water kills everything.
Yeah.
And so I said, I need these things. So I called Matt up. I go, hey, I've never had these, but I think I need them. He's like, yeah, I'll have my guys come out. They came out. They did an unbelievable job. Now, I love this. I look at my neighbors cleaning out their gutters, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, I know a guy. And one of them actually is going to do it this fall. It's incredible. It's the biggest time saver and I know that this wasn't intended to be a commercial.
This is a great leaf filter commercial.
I didn't intend to be a commercial, but I can tell you that there's a couple of times where I've used a product where I'm like, oh my God, I love this product. Like, I believe in this product so much, it works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Leaf filter is that product. It's unbelievable how I don't know what the science is, they fall on my roof, and they don't stick, and they come right down, and they never clog up my gutters, and it's like the greatest thing ever.
It's unbelievable. And those leaves would be in your gutters if you didn't have them.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and they cause backups, and that causes problems with the structure of the house.
But even bringing back what we were just talking about to sports and building a team, it is about culture. I mean, I built a culture at Leaf Filter. We have 150 offices in the U.S. and Canada now, and it started out of my house. So it becomes like just convincing people that are your employees and your salespeople that it is the greatest product in the history of products.
It sells itself.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
But so then it's growing offices in different cities and convincing those people that it's the greatest thing. And so selling is just a transference of feelings. If I can make you feel about my product like I feel about it, then we're going to win. Like, you're pretty passionate about Leaf Filter. I don't know whether you're really that passionate. Or
I am. No, listen, I love it.
But
my wife used to yell at me. I was the guy that would put the gutter, the ladder, and I had the extension ladder, 24 feet. I'm on the upstairs cleaning out, and my wife would stand at the bottom saying, "Is your life insurance paid up?" Yeah. Like, she used to hate that I would do that, but I was trying to take care of my house, and I know the damage that can cause. And now, literally, when I'm watching my neighbors do it, I get an internal chuckle. I'm like, I know something that they don't know. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. But
it really
sports
is.
And in teams, it is building that winning culture, and even amongst the teammates that they really care. You know, I've been on teams or even sports, even at, even back at the University of Akron back then in the early 90s, where we had some tough luck. I mean, we were 2-9 one year. We were 1-10.
Yeah,
and so I'm telling you, we had players on the team that really didn't care.
Right.
You know, you'd show up to the weight room and they didn't care.
Apathy is the enemy.
And you're like, this is how can the coaches even put up with it?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But they did.
Yeah.
And so then you lose, and you have a losing culture, and you know.
Well, I'll be over there Saturday. I'm going to try to get over there for a couple innings tomorrow. We're doing the show from 11 to 1, and I know the game starts at noon. I know you'll be. Are you going to be?
I'll be there. Yep, I'll be there tomorrow.
Very good.
I'm super excited.
Enjoy the games. Congratulations on Leaf Filter, on being Matt Kaulig, on owning NASCAR teams, on being Matt Kaulig, and on owning the Guardians, and on one day owning the Browns.
and them donuts was fire.
Yeah, they were very good. Matt, it's great to see you. It is great to see you.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah.
Love the show.
Keep watching. Keep watching it.
Thank you.
Matt Kaulig on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to take a quick break. We're back in 2 minutes. Travis.
Cleveland sports to me is bigger than anything. It's bigger than some people's marriages. They say the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. No. Dallas is not America's team. Cleveland is America's team. And sports in Cleveland is a religion. It's a way of life. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter. Sports is a way for people in Cleveland to get together, and it's something that can't be replicated in Cleveland. Sports is a thing.
Recognize that feeling? It is the feeling of being together, enjoying the company of a familiar face, and sharing moments that matter to you, to me, to us. What matters to some could impact all of us, especially in a place like Northeast Ohio. Here, stories are shared from east to west to south. Stories of perseverance, of family, of love. If a story brings us together, it's what matters most.
News you can trust should be news you can rely on.
And every night at 11 on What's Next, you can rely on us.
A new legal twist for Brown.
Today also marks the beginning of
ODOT here, and we are going to continue.
So the Guardians have to play almost. You can rely on us to help you go to bed better informed with stories that prepare you for tomorrow.
And with news that's relevant to your life. we'll make sure that you're ready for what's next.
Because being ready for tomorrow is what matters most.
On next, baby.
Pause.
We're good.
McNuggets, did you guys kill the donuts?
No, we had like 2 bags. There's still a whole box right there.
Somebody came in here and said the donuts are gone.
No. There's
I'm
a whole box.
What?
No, we're not that savage.
Yeah, I know. I did 45 on the Peloton last night, and I do that a couple times a week so I can have a cheat snack once in a while. So yeah, that's what that was all about. He was great. Yeah, no, Matt was great. Thanks again for coming in. Matt really, he lives this charmed life. I asked him a couple of weeks ago a serious question. I said, I'm not joking now. Is there anything in the world that you want that you don't have? And he thought about it for a second. He said, I'd like to have a football team. And I said, okay, all right. I don't know if the Haslams are selling anytime soon.
Don't think so.
But if they ever hit the market, I think they'll have a local buyer that'll be ready to go in a heartbeat.
You know what's so crazy is he lives a charmed life, but everybody can get that. If you work hard and you got a vision and you stick to it, and you're competitive, you can get there. That's anybody.
Yeah, he's self-made, 100%. And he has this competitive spirit in everything he does. It doesn't matter what he's doing. I don't care what it is. If he's doing anything, he wants to be not great, he wants to be the best at it. And he's really, I know some folks in the NASCAR world, and they are looking at Matt as this outsider who's coming in with this huge checkbook. Because when I tell you guys that it's expensive, you can't even imagine just the initial writing the check cost to own a team. And they're looking at him with these deep pockets and the things that he's doing, and he's definitely shaking up that world. And hopefully he's going to help the Guardians stay competitive for years. All right, Travis Hafner is on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show now. Travis, it's been a minute. We had you on back in May, I believe. It's great to see you again. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
I love to hear it. Am I right? Are you down in Florida? Am I misremembering?
Yeah, we're in Tampa.
Okay, I was going to ask. I thought it was Tampa, and I didn't think that you were in the Fort Myers area. I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay after the storm came through there. I know Tampa was supposed to take the direct hit and ended up going a little bit south to Fort Myers. But everything good. What do you make of the Guardians? Like, how in the world has this team won 92 games?
Yeah, it's really been incredible. It's an exciting team. You know, the youngest team in the big leagues, and it's a high contact team. They put the ball in play. They play with energy. It's an outstanding pitching staff, and they've been fun to watch.
No, Travis, tell us how hard it is for a team that is that young to recognize that they have an ability to do something special and recognize that and go get it, as opposed to some other teams that may be more high-priced veterans, guys that are big names. How hard is it for a group of young guys to do that?
It's hard. I mean, with young guys, you get kids that play with energy, but at the same time, it does take some time, and experience is very valuable. Just, you know, kind of learning the pitchers in the league, understanding how they're going to pitch you individually, and, you know, you're trying to establish yourself as an everyday big league player. And usually once you get more experience, once you've established yourself, then, you know, winning becomes the main priority.
Travis, you've been around, obviously, in this league for a long time, and knowing what you know as a pro. You're going into a playoff game here in Cleveland tomorrow with a bunch of young guys. So if you're the veteran in the group, when you walk into that locker room that day, what's the look that you don't want to see on those young players when you walk through the door?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's going to be nervous. I mean, you don't want to see guys too nervous, but a lot of it is just, you know, kind of focusing on the things that have got you there all year. So, you know, as a hitter, like, I don't want guys chasing pitches out of the strike zone. So a big part of my plan would just be, hey, get good pitches to hit. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to be the hero. Just, you know, try to focus on line drives up the middle and just kind of do what we've been doing all year.
Travis, is this style of play sustainable in a postseason series? This team looks like the 1980 Cardinals to me, with Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Tommy Herr, and put the ball in play and make chaos on the bases. Obviously, there's not 100 steals guys here, but just active on the base pass, first to third, aggressive base running. Does this translate better, worse, or the same as get two guys on and wait for a 3-run homer?
It's a good call. I think I saw something the other day where a lot of times whoever wins in the postseason hits more homers, or a lot of the runs come via the home run, and the Guardians aren't built for that. But at the same time, they put the ball in play, they put pressure on opposing defenses, they run the bases well, so they have a chance to go out and score runs.
Well, we saw too when Aaron Judge was sitting at 60. I know he finally got over 61 and then 62, but his home run pace dropped dramatically the second he got to 60. And Travis, that's something I want to talk to you about. That's fascinating to me because obviously he's gripping more. He's thinking about it more. He's trying to hit home runs. And as we saw during that stretch, you can have a power outage. Home runs have slumps. Running doesn't have slumps. Hustle doesn't have slumps. So I know that the majority of the teams that win do so via the home run, but I think the way this team is built with the runs and the hustle, that doesn't take days off. And I like where we are. I like this team's chances in the postseason, particularly against the Rays. Even against the Yankees, I do. Now, the Astros might be a different story, but I think this team is positioned to make a little run here.
Yeah, it's a unique style of baseball, not something that you see a ton of in the big league. So it's going to be a tough matchup for any team that the Guardians face. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And again, they can wreak havoc on the bases and really challenge a defense. And they're going to run into some strikeout pitchers that they might make him work harder and throw some extra pitches and get some good pitches to hit eventually, and find a gap or hit a ball out of the ballpark and score runs that way as well. So it's going to be a challenging matchup for any team they face.
Travis, this is a little bit of a weird thing. 3-game series. Are you worried about a young team possibly dropping the first game, and then that pressure builds and ratchets up for the second and third game in a very short series?
Yeah, you definitely want to come out and win game one. But at the same time, if it doesn't happen, there's a little comfort in knowing that all 3 games are at home. So, it's not like if you lose game one, it's like, okay, game 3's in Tampa. We've really made it uphill for us. So, obviously the first game is going to be huge and you want to come out and win that one, but there is some comfort knowing all 3 are at home.
What do you think of this format?
It's exciting having more teams in the playoffs and more teams involved in the wild card chase. And, I think one thing that was frustrating is you play 162 or 163 games, and then it comes down to one game, and you're in the playoffs, one game you lose, you run into Jacob deGrom or Scherzer or something like that, and you lose, and it's like season's over. So this at least gives you a chance to face 3 opposing pitchers or have 3 of your guys go, and kind of eliminates just running into the elite Cy Young type pitcher.
Talking about pitching, it certainly a premium is always on pitching in October baseball. Speak to how this team is positioned with the front of the rotation guys, knowing that they've got a Cy Young caliber guy in Bieber who looks like Shane Bieber again, young Tristan McKenzie who looks like Mr. Salty out there throwing a baseball, but just all he does is throw strikes and get guys to swing and miss. And then, even if you have to, you got Quantrill as the third starter. How do you think the pitching matches up in a postseason series with what the Guardians have here in arms?
Yeah, you feel really good about running Bieber and McKenzie out there the first two games of this series, and you back that up with a very strong bullpen of 5 or 6 very capable guys out there. So definitely like our chances the first couple games of the series, and then Cal's been outstanding this year as well, and in particular very good at home. So I think our pitching is going to give us a chance to win each game.
Hey Travis, I'm flipping a little bit from baseball, but last time we had you on, you had the ghost image behind with the door opening up behind. You got it locked this time? You keeping them out this time?
Hey, I swear my dog just came in here 5 minutes before it started and the door opened up, and I thought exactly of that moment. So it's actually sitting under my feet.
It gave us a great laugh. We enjoyed it. Hey, Travis, talk about the difference between regular season baseball and playoff baseball.
Yeah, it's I mean, people say like, just got to think of it as another game, and there are some aspects of that are definitely true, but there's so much adrenaline, there's so much excitement in the ballpark. I mean, every pitch is, people are just locked in every pitch, and it's exhausting when the game is over because you've been so involved in every pitch. But I think the big thing is just kind of sticking with your approach of what got you there. And not trying to do too much, because I think that's going to be like the natural thing to want to try to do is like, I want to be the hero, I'm going to step up and hit a home run, or I'm going to be over aggressive. So if they can stick with their game plan, do what they do very well, they can really use the crowd to their benefit.
Hey, can I spill a little bit of tea on you? My day job is a reporter, so sometimes when I'm bored, I know this sounds so loserish, I'll just like search real estate records and property and see what's moving. And I found your house in Avon Lake under Ron Burgundy Enterprises with Burgundy misspelled. So I found you, even though you tried really hard to. No matter how hard you tried to find
this guy.
No matter how hard you tried to bury it, I still found it. So I want to know how. I mean, obviously you're a big Anchorman fan, but you misspelled Burgundy. Was that intentional? Or was that?
It was intentional.
It was intentional.
It was intentional.
And I found you anyway.
I didn't realize there'd be somebody as good as you out there. So hats off to you.
Only a loser.
So let me ask you, first of all, why would you misspell Burgundy?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I had
you
an
really
answer
wanted
a couple
to be
years
stealth.
ago, but I'm not sure what it is now.
I've always wanted to bring that up and ask you.
You got
that.
a lot of time on your hands.
I told you I'm a loser.
McNuggets has something for you. Go ahead, Mikey.
I have a little Ron Burgundy story real quick, and then I got a question for you, Travis. But when Anchorman 2 came out, Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy came to Emerson College. It was my senior year, did a press conference, and they renamed the journalism school the Ron Burgundy School of Journalism for one day.
That's beautiful.
We got to ask him questions in a press conference setting. He answered as Ron Burgundy. It was awesome. He did not break character. But, Travis, I did have a real question for you. We keep playing the locker room video from when they clinched a couple of weeks ago. Is there any party that compares to a locker room party with unlimited champagne, cigars, and literally no rules?
They are absolutely fantastic. And I try to think of ways that we can do like these baseball type parties in like everyday life, like what you could celebrate, and it like you just can't come up with anything that compares to it. But that moment there that they're showing is just, that's why you play the game. It's so much hard work that goes into that moment and everybody coming together as a team. But those actual parties are incredible.
Okay. Are there too many of those? Like divisional, like wild card, you're popping champagne. No other sport does this. Wild card round, let's pop champagne. ALCS, ALDS, ALCS. Like, shouldn't you wait until you like win the championship?
They did win a championship. They're the AL Central champs.
But, like, the Cavs never popped champagne for winning the Central Division or, like anything like that. Are there too many in baseball, or do you just love it so much, just every day, let's go for it?
Well, I don't know that there can be enough, or I don't think there can be too many champagne parties because they're that awesome. But, yeah, I mean, I think making the playoffs is such a big deal because the season's so long. Mm-hmm. I understand what you're saying, too. Like, maybe you reserve it for, the American League, win an American League championship, headed to the World Series. But they are fun, and I think it's, there's something special about celebrating each step along the way, and kind of just puts a bow tie on each round that you're moving on. So they're fantastic, and the ones that I was in were great.
Goggles seem to be a new thing. I don't think people realize how much it burns your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have goggles, or were you an eye burner?
I was an eye burner. Back when I played, if you wore goggles, it was, you get made fun of a little bit, called out your manhood a little bit. But now I guess
sign of weakness.
I guess everybody's using goggles, so
that is seems to be the new way to celebrate.
Yeah.
I think you're being a buzzkill, Jay. To be perfectly honest,
that's the first time I've been told that.
Yeah, I mean, hell. To Travis's point, these guys got together in the middle of February.
Right.
They see each other more than they see their families.
Mm-hmm.
They've had highs. They've had long losing streaks. They've had lows. They've had injuries. They've overcome obstacles. You're at the end of the 162 game sprint marathon. Hell, let loose and celebrate.
Well, if any team deserves it, it's this one.
They weren't expected to be there.
Nobody thought this was happening.
You didn't have them winning 92 games, did you, Trav?
I did not. So, yeah, I mean, it's been incredible that they've gotten to this point. I think a lot of people would look at the White Sox on paper as the best team in the AL Central, and then the Twins kind of behind them. And, Guardians would be right in that 2-3 spot. But, them winning the division has been truly incredible this season.
What's their ceiling here? How far can they go?
Anything can happen in the postseason. I would love to see them go play the Yankees because that's like two dramatic different styles of baseball, and it'd be very interesting to see what happens. And then in the NL they got the Dodgers and the Braves, who are two really, really good teams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, definitely not looking too far forward, but I think this is going to be a really good matchup with the Rays, and hopefully we can move on and play the Yankees.
Yeah, one day at a time. If we gave you 10 at-bats right now, not in playoff baseball, but regular season baseball, if we were to throw you in for 10 at-bats, what would you do? What would your average be, and would you homer?
Are you saying right now, or do I get to practice?
Like off the couch.
Sure, right off the couch. You're called up.
Off the couch, I'd probably hit 0. 10 punch-outs.
I doubt that very seriously. Travis, great to see you again.
Ron Burgundy,
enjoy the playoffs. I look at you in a whole different light now that I know that. That is a great fun fact. Jason, thanks for bringing that to the party. Enjoy the game. I hope the team that comes from the city you're living in now is back there in a couple of days with their tail between their legs, and the Guardians are moving on to see the Yankees.
That would be fantastic. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate
You bet.
it.
Travis Hafner, former Cleveland Indian great. I noticed in the graphic there we had ND GOAT.
Yeah.
North Dakota.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to think that he went to Notre Dame and broke all the records there. He is, without question, the greatest baseball player ever produced by the state of North Dakota.
Pronk, my son's favorite player back in the day.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Pronk. We had Hafner stuff all over his room.
It was Pronk because he was part project, part donkey. Because he's just a massive human being. And a wonderful, just a super nice guy.
Great guy.
And, man, did he hit the grand slams.
Hey, man, I miss the old school Mo Vaughn, Travis Hafner elbow pads. They used to have it. That's how you know you could hit home runs back in the day. It was signified by your gear.
Barry Bonds had it, too.
You got to have that elbow sleeve. It got to look like it's a knee pad / elbow pad, like it's roller derby.
Like they're going out there to play hockey.
Yeah, and then they take it off. They take it off and hand it to somebody. And I'm like, where did that dude come from? They always got a little dude. He just come through and give it. Back then, it was the good old days.
Yeah, it was. A lot of fun. All right, 9 minutes to go. We're going to do final takes.
Let's do
Call
final
it a day.
takes,
Is there
yep.
anything I'm missing? I think we got it all in, right?
This flew.
Actually,
yeah, it did.
real quick, I do want to say we got our first 2 super chats today. So shout out to Roberto.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
El Presidente paid $2 for us to say great show.
Hey, shout out to the super chats, man.
What?
We appreciate y'all,
You can
man.
pay super chat. You can pay on YouTube. Pay us. So he paid us $2 to read their comment on air.
And we'll read your comment and notify you and say what's up.
So do we each get a quarter and call it a day? Like, what do we do with that money?
No, you don't get that money.
No, this goes right to Tegna's pockets.
That's going right to their bags. You don't get nothing.
$2?
He said, "Let's go Guardians."
All right.
Hey, listen. I need all them dollars. 2, 50 cents. Whatever you can do, we appreciate it.
Someone also paid us $10 and didn't leave a comment, so we made $12 today.
Woo! $10 hit and run? They didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything. Nope.
Leave your comment.
Well, what's the point?
Leave your comment,
Listen,
man.
He supports the show. It's how you can support the show. Kenneth Yablonowski.
Shout out to Kenneth
Yablonowski. We love you, Kenneth.
Kenneth, you the man. Next time, leave a comment.
We're gonna corral that a little bit differently.
Well, I almost feel like we need a tote board. Like the Jerry Lewis telethon, let's check our new total. We're at $12 now.
No, but here's what we can do. We can put up a screen of all the people who have super chatted, and then we can run.
Oh, no, that's a good idea.
Look at that.
Yeah, we actually were working with the reason the call this morning was a little late was Steve and I were working on the VMix YouTube social thing.
We're gonna clean it up.
It's very much a work in progress.
We'll clean clean up.
close on figuring
We'll
it out.
clean up.
but it's important.
The mayor said we're going to work on our messaging.
We're gonna
clean it
up.
up.
I didn't even know that was a
To
thing.
everybody's
Super
satisfaction.
chat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Super stickers, too.
It's time for final take.
Super stickers? Is this like buying
No, I'm going
space
in.
in the
You're up.
I know I'm going in here.
on the internet?
No, it's just a sticker. Like you could have different tiers of stickers that you got. If you're in a barbershop,
I am
a
so
red
old.
sticker is $5. If you want a brown sticker, it's $10.
All right. Well, okay.
But we don't do that yet.
They'll get on it. We'll see if we get that. We'll get popping.
So we're going to be selling stickers soon.
He's clueless.
Down to take.
He's the
I am so
the
old.
old school guy.
Dude,
We're
I
down to
lived in a
take.
house most of my life that had a telephone that you had to stick your finger in the dial and go like this. And now you're selling stickers on the internet,
Hey, we
shout
just
outs for
appreciate
$10.
the fans and the people watching for
We
supporting
love you all.
us.
No,
So, thank you
honestly,
guys.
we love you all. We're hearing from so many more of them.
Right.
I know when I go to a sporting event, it's ridiculous that the people that say love the show, and I always used to think they used to be talking about Channel 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running into more and more people that say, no, you're a sports show in the morning.
And by the way, don't they have the Roku app?
Hold on.
Ain't we on Roku,
And
by
it's-
the way?
and Jay, it's men and women.
You could-
It's,
No,
I
I
mean,
know.
it's all across the board. It's like, hey, I was
not
in
heard
Lowe's,
that,
and it
G.
was like
I've heard
a
that from
70-year-old
lots
woman
of
stopped me. Hey,
Yeah.
the show.
No, absolutely.
It's great.
I
Female
haven't heard
sports
from our
fans in
people yet,
Cleveland
though.
are huge.
You haven't heard from your people.
We haven't heard from our people on that.
But I am on Locked On, and it is on Roku. So make sure you download the Roku app. I got a Roku for your streaming devices.
Also,
Becker says we are too, apparently.
And Fire Stick.
Roku, and also if YouTube isn't your thing, you can put the WKYC Plus app on your smart TV, and you can watch us that way every day. And what's nice about this is we air 11 to 1 live, but they also re-air it every evening on WKYC Plus.
Download that app.
So you can watch it that way if you want to watch it on your big screen, and not on a computer. Jason looks much prettier on the 80-inch. The definition, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Locks.
All right, Brad, lead us off.
You know I've been waiting for
I
this.
know you've been
I've
waiting.
been waiting.
You've been
Jay,
waiting.
I've been waiting since last week. You know, I may have to ask my man G-Bus to yield me his time.
I gratefully yield my time to the senator.
And the fine gentleman from Sandusky will yield his
the
time
fine
as well.
gentleman in the Ohio Senate.
To my colleagues, I started last week. You know, I was disturbed last week. I was severely let down by Kim Mulkey, the coach of LSU. The women's basketball coach for LSU, who used to be at Baylor for a long time, won a couple national championships at Baylor, who used to coach Brittany Griner at Baylor, Brittany Griner helped her win a couple national championships that helped her ultimately to the payday that she got from LSU. She extracted that money from LSU, thankful because she had some NCAA titles that Brittany Griner had successfully helped her in, right? And I'm going back to think, if you do not know what I'm talking about, Kim Mulkey made a statement last week. They had a press conference, media day in LSU, and asked her about, you know, she had not made a comment about Brittany Griner being detained in Russia. She had said nothing. And it was strange and it was irritating to people because they felt like she should be out there because the WNBA, NBA players, political people are all trying to advocate for Brittany Griner's release. Kim Mulkey says nothing. So what she does is, this press conference, a smart reporter corners her at the press conference and says, Coach, we haven't heard you say a thing on Brittany Griner on that. And asked her a couple questions. Number one question is, we haven't heard you say a couple things. The prominent response, if you do not know the backstory here, after Brittany Griner left LSU, there was a dispute. I think it was the 30 for 30 ESPN story that came out about Brittany Griner's time at being at Baylor and how she felt that, you know, she has felt like Kim Mulkey did not treat her kindly when it came to her sexual orientation, right? Basically. And no matter how you feel about that, Kim Mulkey obviously didn't take kindly to it because it was a thorough report. And it eviscerated Kim Mulkey. And some of it was factual. And it ultimately led to her dismissal, her leaving Baylor. Not her dismissal, but her leaving Baylor. So this is obviously in this instance that she had carried a grudge against Brittany Griner. Now I'm thinking about back in the day when Brittany Griner was being recruited by Kim Mulkey. She had to walk into Brittany Griner's parents' house and say, here's a 17, 18-year-old. I'm going to shepherd in your child. I'm going to take care of her, make sure that she's going to grow up to be a prosperous person or just a great citizen in this country. That's the line they sell when you're being recruited. And you're a mentor of young people, trying to grow young people into adulthood. So after Brittany Griner, obviously who had been bothered by her experience at Baylor, comes out, this was years after she was a pro, she makes a statement. Kim Mulkey takes offense to it. So she doesn't say anything about Brittany Griner's captivity in Russia. She gets to the captivity portion, they ask her about the question, and instead of responding in an adult fashion, we're saying, you know what? I'm praying for Brittany Griner, something to that effect. I'm praying for her release, that she comes home safely. Because here's a child, somebody's child, that's being wrongfully detained in another country, 200 plus days in jail, in a 5x9 cell, right? Lord knows what they're doing to her. Lord knows if they even feeding her right? And with no representation from her homeland there, a political prisoner. So instead of Kim Mulkey taking the high road, Michelle Obama, there you go low, you go high. She says this, when asked the question, Coach, we haven't heard you say anything about this Brittany Griner thing. Her response to the question is real snarky, and you're not. Go on to the next question. Wow. Immediately after that, you're always represented by the people that you have come in contact with. Her former Baylor players lit her up on social media. They lit her up. One of them, a couple of WNBA players said, hey, to all the parents out there, just know where you're sending your child to and who you're sending them to. Right? So if you follow this Kim Mulkey thing, this thing is not all glass and smiles down in Baylor, right? It was a parting of the ways, real ways. But again, I always tell myself, surround yourself with good people. In my opinion, Kim Mulkey's not a good person at all. At all. Because if you can elicit no compassion, I don't care if you didn't like the story. There was a road to take. Your snarky comment was not required at that time, right? And I go back to think about this, Jay. She walked into her house as a parent, somebody's parent. Tell them you're going to take care of their child. And this is how you take care of their child. Even if your child had done wrong, right? Tell you what, there's a way to handle it. And the way you handle it was so far beneath the profession, your humanity or anything else. And anybody didn't tell you, I don't give a damn what you think. And that's been bothering me since last week. So if I ever cross paths with you, and you may, because mine is at Maryland, you may see me. You're going to hear from me because I'm somebody's parent.
It's a big responsibility when you let, and I've done it, you've done it, when you let your 17 or 18-year-old child go to a completely strange place, you entrust your child with the coach that recruits them.
You absolutely do.
They are their de facto parent.
That's right.
And the one, I told my son all through the recruiting process, it's going to be your decision. This is the first adult decision you're ever going to make in your life. And before you make it, make sure you understand that it is going to lead you on a path that will determine where you go in life.
That's right.
And I was super proud of my son because he was interviewing the coaches and the ADs as much as they were interviewing him.
That's the way to do it.
And you were involved in your daughter's recruitment?
Absolutely was.
And as a result, your daughter, they made wise choices that will set them up for success in life. It's a big deal. When you let your kid out of your home for the first time, it's a big deal. I have to say, I didn't follow, I wasn't aware of all of that.
And I just think of this, Jay. The money Kim Mulkey's making now is basically off the backs of Brittany Griner.
That is
She's
very
sitting in
true.
a flush house in Baton Rouge, right? And this girl's sitting in a 5x9 cell, and you have no compassion for her. You can't
Did
show
she
an
go
ounce
on
of
to
manner.
elaborate those
No,
comments?
she
That
cut
was
it right there.
And you won't.
And you won't. That's how she said it.
Just goes to show you how many terrible people coach. We're taught as athletes to listen to your coaches. Don't, make sure you uphold them as authority figures. But you realize that some of these coaches is only in it for themselves. They in it for the bag, just to get in what they can. And that's another case of there are bad people in every walk of life, including coaches.
But also, we should point out, and you know them, you played for some of them, and they exist today. There are also coaches that have regular conversations with athletes that haven't been on their teams in decades.
Yep.
And those are the ones that you hope your child ends up with. The coach that will care for them like they are one of their own.
Yeah. And that's why when you're going through the process, I don't just say this to any parent, right? Know who you're jumping in bed with, right? Because you have to know who they are.
Do you think this will negatively impact Kim Mulkey? I would think, and I don't follow that world closely as you do, but I would think that because, now, we should point out, too, Brittany Griner broke the laws of another country. And when you do that, you become subjected to their punishments. All of that being said, you don't need to be from Russia or the United States or any other country to understand that this is wildly unfair. This is unusually harsh, but it is the system and it is their rules. All of that being said, if you can't find a place in your heart for compassion for what she's going through, and the overwhelming majority of the public opinion, correct me guys if I'm wrong, is in Brittany Griner's corner on this instance.
Correct.
I would think that her stance, Mulkey's stance on this, will absolutely negatively impact her ability to go into a 17-year-old's living room and to convince them and her parents to come play basketball for me.
And let me, to any parent out there, let me be clear. Whatever Kim Mulkey's selling on LSU, they're selling it in Ohio State, they're selling it in Maryland, they're selling it in Michigan. It is, again, it is solely the people you surround yourself with. Everybody wearing the same suit don't mean you're a good dresser. Doesn't, right? You have to get down to the bare facts here.
And I'm always siding with anybody over Russia. Just to throw that out there.
And we're not even arguing anybody. What happened here? Basic human compassion. Cost you nothing.
That's right. She could have easily come forward and said, I hope she finds a quick resolution to this.
So Steve, our mega producer here, just handed me this out of Google. This was after the statement. This is one of Kim Mulkey's former players at Baylor. Former Baylor center Queen Egbo tweeted, this was her tweet, a player that built Baylor 2 national titles and a 40-0 record, yet her former coach refused to say anything or just simply show any kind of support. Just keep that in mind when you're choosing schools.
Yeah, I would think this is going to have a negative impact on. Typically, women's basketball coaches' names are in the headlines for one reason: winning a national championship. If your name is in the headline for any other reason and you're a women's basketball coach, it typically isn't great.
Right.
And this is going to stay in the news cycle. And here's the thing: Google lives forever. And the first things a kid in Chicago is going to do when they find out that Coach Mularkey called, oh, I'm so excited. Let's find out who this Coach Mularkey is. Google Kim Mularkey. The first thing, and many of the things that are going to pop up, coach refuses to have former players back. And it's going to be hundreds of them. There will be kids that might have considered going to play for her that probably likely now won't. Jason, did you want to do a final take?
I had
got a couple minutes.
I saw Mikey rapping. You want to rap? You want?
We have a couple minutes.
We got another minute or two. I was just saying.
And we forfeited our time.
Yeah, we
all right.
We punt it.
I'll cut it down. I'll be real quick. Last night I watched the Netflix documentary on Tim Donaghy and the officiating scandal. And I wasn't really sure what to think going in. Honestly, I didn't follow it that closely. I know I covered the NBA for 10 years, but he predated when I really got into it. So I really didn't have much of the backstory. I found a lot of it fascinating, but I got to tell you, and there's a lot of blame to go around. There's a lot of dirty people. You can watch it for yourself. But the one thing that stood out to me most was the way that Donaghy knew of the personal beefs that the officials had against the coaches. Brad, have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to want to watch it if you haven't. And it just, maybe it's a little naivety in me. I thought that they could be bigger than that, and he nailed it. Like Donaghy's percentage on the games he was officiating that he was betting on was over 80%, 85%. Now he swears to this day that he didn't throw any games. I don't know how you can do that if you know you've got money on it. And it wasn't his money. You just have to go and watch it for yourself. But the biggest takeaway I had was knowing how this official didn't like Pat Riley, and sure enough, Riley's team lost. This official didn't like this coach, and sure enough, that guy's team lost. And this is a black stain, obviously, on the NBA. They want no part of this. They sent in a couple of comments to Netflix, but they don't want to go back down this road, and for obvious reasons. And it really started churning my wheels on who else. And the NBA was steadfast in saying Tim Donaghy was rogue. He's the only one. He was acting alone. But I got to tell you, I shut the TV off last night and went to bed thinking, who else? Who else?
Yep.
It's fascinating. I encourage you to check
Definitely
it out.
worth the watch. I was at ESPN when that went on, and I covered all of it very closely. And I remember someone very, very, I should say a former, high up the food chain league official made a comment to me that I'll never forget. He told me, Jay, wherever there is money, there is corruption.
Absolutely.
And there are zero exceptions. And he's not the only actor.
Sure. Yeah.
And I tried to pin him down. Do you mean there's others in the NBA, or does it happen at the NFL? Does it happen at Major League Baseball? And he just, with all the confidence in the world, looked me square in the face and said, he is not the only actor. There's a lot of money.
Yep.
And I remember when this was going on, there were questions about the NBA's long-term survival because of it. Because the one thing we have to be certain of when we're watching professional sports is that the outcome is not predetermined. We're not watching wrestling.
Otherwise, you're the WWE. That's
Otherwise,
exactly
you're the
right.
wrestling. Okay. All right, we're done. Big show tomorrow because when we're halfway through it, the Guardians will be playing. So we'll have one eye on the game and one eye on the program. We'll be giving updates throughout the afternoon, but we're going to take a 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow. Anything else that you want to plug for tomorrow's show?
DeQuell headlines and Guardians post-game afterwards.
Okay, great. Yeah, headlines are going to be fun.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to say
These
who,
are
but
some good headlines.
I did see one of the headlines, which was absolute fire. And it's going to be neat to see how the other ones were pre-written headlines for Sunday's game. All right, enjoy the next 22 hours. We'll see you again at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning on the